chat. This pulse of big.
And we should be live, maybe. Where's OBS? There it is. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. And we are going to be talking about the new banner that came out for the Transient summons as well as the AR summons. Joining me today is Housamo.
Hello.
Yo, good to see you and have you again. Also joining us is Zalgus.
Hello there.
Hello. And last but not least is Irby, also known as a Namepeaker.
Hello.
Check out his channel if you want to continue watching the Efkari playthrough. It's very cool. And Harvey Kais will not be joining us today because of some traumatizing event that happened with him in this event. But we'll remember him in our heart as we talk about the topics for today. So we will be starting off with the ARs and jump right into it. This is going to be covered by Housamo, starting with not this AR, but the thingy AR. Commemorative AR.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, you go ahead. I got the order wrong here.
Okay, so this is the Welfare AR, which features Thunderbird and Horus. It gives Face Start Anchor at 50 to 100% rate to self, and after moving, it applies weakness to enemies in below range in front of you at a 50 to 100% rate. Since you can max it, everything's guaranteed if you do that, and its restrictions are T-Bird, Horus, Rushshot, and Ether. My thoughts on this AR, it's another Welfare AR that you're not really gonna use. You get to become, pre-Evo Xmas Takimaru. There you go. That's not something that people generally value. So yeah, that's all my thoughts on it.
Thanks.
At most, if you have somebody who wants to move, you get a free weakness and low range, but it's not an interesting AR.
What do you guys think?
I think... Oh. Okay, sure. I'll go first. I think that LifeWonders is obsessed with making the birds appear in only bird ARs. Because Thunderbird ARs are all with other birds for some reason. And I think
Birds
that
of
is
a feather.
What? Yes.
Birds of a feather flock together.
Yes.
But yes, I think, it's a nice enough effect if you have it maxed out because, 100%. So I guess there's that at least, in the very rare situations where you will actually want it, like in the event you have some blow unit or whatever, it could be nice. But yeah, it's if it were a paid AR, or as AR you actually pulled for, then it would be absolutely trash. But since it's free, it's okay, and that's about it.
Yeah, I think it's, in terms of the effects, but I didn't say it. I pretty much agree with everyone. I think it's never going to be used at all whatsoever.
You guys are rather negative with this AR. I mean, it's guaranteeable weakness. It's very good, I think.
Yeah, but the range is bad.
Low range.
I mean, yeah, but it's just adjust your expectations for what you'd use this for. I think it'd be good for certain boss clothes, for example. And also, Eta, 3 times weakness advantage, and he wasn't able to inflict weakness on the first square he hit, right?
No.
You really need to move Eta?
I mean,
I don't remember that.
It's the move Ada Meta. No.
I mean, you might want to. I actually used to move him quite a bit for when I was bearing Shiva to kill Ramu, but not that matters. There's also what's called. You could put this on Oniwaka or Horus or Nomad or Bastion. Move a lot. You can also put this on Moritaka, his Jamboree variant, so that you can prevent him from like burying himself if that's what you want. Same thing for Batsman Nomad, who kind of push themselves back for the anchor effect. So I think this AR is actually quite good. Strictly, it's quite good because it's maxable. Like, it'd be pretty trash otherwise, but just because it's like free and maxable, it's a decent effect of.
I think if you're using Nomad or Bath theme, all hope is lost.
Well, I think it's good for boss killers in general, but it does suck that low units can't really equip it. But I think, a guaranteeable amp is, nothing to scoff at.
Can Kengo equip it?
His 5-star version can equip it. Actually, all of his versions can equip it because he's Ether.
Yeah, because he's Ether. I guess he could use it because he needs to move for his thing. His crit and whatnot.
There's just like a bajillion damage. It's just like, who the fuck cares? It's like, just use affiliations at that point.
Use a proper damage dealer.
Yeah.
Okay, look, I'm giving this like a good review strictly because every other AR afterwards is going to be quite shit. So I think this being guaranteeable and also being the best out of the batch kind of like raises my view on it quite a bit. You're probably not going to use it, but for challenges, it's it's guaranteed weakness. If you're doing some 3-star threatening, then this AR is probably one of the ones you'll want to remember because it's like refreshable too, unlike the what's called Wise Men one. It's not once; it's just every single time you move.
I still think it's just Xmas Takimaru, so I'm not gonna rate this highly.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's Christmas
The
Takimaru.
fact that you need to move for a low range amp, I don't know, man.
It's Christmas Takimaru,
It's
but
an
inside
amp,
an
but-
AR, so it's not as bad as Christmas Takimaru.
Oh wait, this has a better rate than Christmas Takimaru. Wow, and he can equip it too.
I mean, it's pointless on Takimaru.
There we go.
Yeah.
Finally, Takimaru is fixed.
Arrow, what if he fails his 80% weakness rate? You can have this backing him up.
Was it really 80%? God damn. See, this AR is already better than Takimaru.
Yeah.
Proof right there that this AR is actually quite good.
Also, to be fair, his was thrust range before Evo, so the range was better on his kit. But yes, it is 80% even after the Evo.
Okay. I'm gonna read the comments.
Actually, let's save on reading the comments until you're done reading all the ARs for your section. This is what we've been doing because
Okay,
honestly,
just
the
my
AR stuff is
section.
kind of quick. But yeah, we'll continue on with
Okay.
the next AR after I fix the order. So this should be the Ulaanbaatar Tuaring AR. You may continue.
Okay, so it's this one. Okay, so this one has an after hitting effect. You apply this irremovable debuff to hit enemies at a 20 to 40% rate. And this irremovable debuff gives the enemies a chance of removing a buff before they're hit. So at a 50% rate fixed. So basically what this effect is saying is that after hitting, so like this buff removal is not going to happen on the hit that you apply it on. You're going to try to chance from a 20 to 40% rate applying this debuff, and then you have to get other people to hit the people with this debuff to do a coin flip to remove a buff. So yeah, that's what the first effect is. The next effect is that before being hit, you apply skill lock resistance at a 30 to 60% rate to yourself. So you need to get attacks by an enemy, and before the attack lands on you, you get this skill lock resistance. Maybe. And the restrictions are Tuaring, Ulan, and Shonen Snipe. So that first effect with the buff removal is going to be mostly restricted to a column for most intents and purposes. So yeah, what do I think about this AR? I think it's shit. It's like extremely extremely what is it? Unreliable for no reason. And it's really strange that they put this skill lock resistance behind and before being attacked trigger. I don't know why they didn't just do a 50 to 100, actual status resistance of skill lock, but I guess it counts as a buff. So there you go. It's also like worse that's hit behind a before being hit trigger, because that means if there's like a skill lock version of like Loki who counters upon being hit, like let's say you had like an enemy Maria, the skill lock resistance wouldn't work. The upside though is that it's on an AR, so technically it will like bypass stuff like that. Okay, that's all my thoughts. It's pretty trash just because of like how stupidly unreliable it is, even when maxed.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I wrote for this AR too. Normally I try to find some niche cases, but like it's actually just like you are gimping yourself by relying on these low rates all around. Honestly, I actually didn't notice that it was only 50% before being hit, so thanks for pointing out. This graphic's a bit wrong. It should say remove buff to self at a 50% rate. But yeah, it's even when I had that misimpression, I still thought it was kind of too shit to use with its low rates, with like only 20%. Jesus Christ! And the skill lock resistance.
Yeah, it's like.
Sorry, good.
No, it's just like it's so fucking ridiculous. Like you have to land a 20% hit, you have to get other people to hit the guy, and then you still have to flip coins. So like remove buffs. It's so stupid. I don't get it.
Yeah, you're better off relying on Terramite pre-Evo at that point. It's like, just never use this AR, to be honest. It's not worth it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Those base rates are basically unusable. Like, especially with something like skill lock, where you really don't want to be like playing with fire, where you have a terrible rate of actually negating it. You want to actually always negate it, not 30% of the time or whatever. So also it only lasts one turn. The hell. So that's even worse. If it lasted more than, if skill lock resistance actually lasted more than one turn, I could see it maybe having a reason to use it. But if you wanted to, say, ready it up on a phase where they're not skill locking you, then I guess I could see that, even if it would still be bad. But with a one-turn duration, it's just useless.
Yeah, don't use this AR. Also, Irby has nothing to say because he's speechless by how good its AR is.
I have nothing to say about this. I mean,
that's a skill lock at the
already built everything there was to say here, so this is shit. Please do not use, unless you like femboys and Guy Fieri. There you go.
I do have one more comment about this AR, and it's mainly about the art. Is that the artist for this is Plus No Konbu. I can never tell that's going to be him. Yeah.
He did Tuaring quite accurately, and Ulaanbaatar is not too off model either, so I really wouldn't have expected this him.
Both pretty on model, considering like
he's
done like a lot of the leaked drawings and Ryota, or is it Ryota? I forget. A lot of the leaked ones. Yeah, and leaked is pretty round, and Furufumi, that was it. And then you have Tuaring and Ulaanbaatar here, who both actually look really on model to me. Like, they look perfect, especially just the faces. I mean, you can't really see Tuaring's bodies here, so it's whatever. But yeah, the faces are perfect.
Yeah, I forgot to add this in the previous AR, but just like that AR and this AR, I'm a big fan of the art overall from this batch. So even though I think the AR effects are kind of mega shit for the most, I do think it might be worth pulling just for the new update that's coming out, where they'll let you use ARs for your home screen eventually. because they look quite nice in this patch. But that's just my subjective opinion.
I'm not a big fan of the first one, the bird one, but I do think that this one is nice. I was even more shocked that it was like plus no Konbu of all people who drew it. You can never get a handle
Yeah, it's
on
surprising
art
because
style.
they both look pretty accurate. So
Yeah.
Never underestimate the fat
Okay,
artists. Alright, you want to move on?
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah.
So Milk will lastly be covering this AR, the Otter Horse one. Go ahead.
Okay, so going back on good art, this one looks really nice. So let's talk about the effects now. The first one is that you get a +1 CS multiplier. That's nothing new. There's a bajillion CS plus CS multipliers, so I won't really comment on that. The main effect is that it applies phase start break to enemies in long/wide/ range at a 30 to 60% rate. This effect is fairly bad because it's extremely unreliable, even if, well, not extremely if you maxed it, but if you maxed it, even if you maxed it, it would still be at 60% rate. So it's kind of bad. The restrictions on it are Otter, Horus, and / and long/. So it's going to be mainly people who can take advantage of this break range, but I would not put too much effort into this AR if you only have it at like artifact level 1, because it's only phase start and it's very low rate at 30%. Other than that, the art is really nice.
It's fucking fantastic. So this is probably my favorite AR that's not horny out of the batch. The lighting from the sun is quite great. Nice tinge of blue and desaturation.
Yeah, I saw this art and it made me think, wow, art looks pretty cool here. I wonder how his unit is.
I mean, Horus looks cooler, so it's fine. And I'm a big fan of Horus too, but we're talking about the kits here, so I agree with Milk's assessment. You're just like not going to use this for the damage. At most, you'll use this for the very specific scenario of in challenges if you just want to prevent the enemy only on the front line from moving. And that's it, because you're not going to be using this for damage.
Yeah, I haven't updated my list of ARs with CS multipliers in a while, but assuming it hasn't changed much, this is the first AR with +1 for / and long/. That honestly, that's probably changed, but yes, it is AR with a +1 CS multiplier for / and long/, which is rare. There's only a few. There's like 1 5-star on my list, which I haven't updated in a while again. So there's that at least. If for some reason you have a / or long/ unit who you desperately want to have a CS multiplier, this is an option. But yeah, the effect isn't anything. Again, base rates are fucking awful. I hate that so much.
One thing I want to say is that this AR is actually detrimental for a lot of long/ units because a lot of them already do inflict break, like Humo 5 and McCroick and Gordon. So if you're using this AR in those long/ units, you're going to get a weaker version of break. You're going to have a chance of getting a weaker version of break, which is going to significantly reduce the damage you'd otherwise deal, which I think is pretty shit. I think they should have chosen a different effect. But yeah.
I mean, the weakness one is pretty good, like I said, but no one seems to agree with me, so... yeah, when we have ARs like this, that makes me think the weakness one isn't that bad, actually, because 30% at this limited range for, units that really can't take advantage of it is not great.
I'm checking something about McCroy, because I feel like his break doesn't actually apply to the hit units.
It's like the ones behind them or something.
It applies to the version, to the unit in... I'm pretty sure it applies to the to the one directly in blow range at least. Something
No.
like that.
No.
No,
That's-
it doesn't?
No, it's just the enemies behind. He's that shit.
I must have confused it with Licho then, or something.
Licho, yeah. With his dumb weakness thing.
You know?
Okay. Then it's just Yuma and Gordon. Still pretty shit. Don't use them on them.
Okay, so
Yeah, you can read the chat.
that's it, right? Okay. No minutes, only Otter. I'm giving you just the one buster. Take your time. Oh no, you eliminated for calling you like furry.
Oh,
Is
according to
DT here?
Keikaku. Hario's like going on a
Hi.
no, you're furry scheme lately. And I got him out of it because of that, but then he ate shit with Ganglie, so I'm fine.
Wow.
I mean, sorry, Harvey.
Wow.
I'm ratting you out.
No.
Hi, Harvey Bad Pulls too. Hey yo.
Send them a DM right now.
I might. Wow, weakness at blow range on AR that blow range units can't use. Well, maybe if you like use that AR on Christmas Sea Tree, and then he gets his charge skill up. That's blow range. There you go. Full avians. You can give this to someone who benefits from after buff effects who doesn't get anchor in a setup. It's a thing you can do. Yeah. Yeah.
Are we really like suggesting more
No.
FP-like strats? Please.
No.
I don't know, it's just like you have a bajillion buffs now with all the, when appearing effects, so
It's like
I'm not really too.
They're just the removable stuff.
Yeah.
They got plenty of choices, and so we don't need one more for that kind of purpose. I don't even mention it in my ARs now suggestions nowadays.
I think there's just like a bunch of stuff running around that one more buff. I mean, it's helpful, but like, whatever. It's just whatever. Sexy, busty burbs. Did I want to read that? Whatever. Late, sorry. And now Ulan fan service. Yeah. Hello. Y'all see 80% on any other unit and be like, skill seed and glint can fix it, but act like Xmas Takimaru is a lost cause, lol. I don't think it's a lost cause. It's just like, I think 80% is really annoying.
I think
skill
he's a
lock.
lost cause.
I mean, he is lost cause.
Wow.
I think he's lost
Okay.
cause too.
I don't really think he's like the worst thing in the world, but it's funny.
I don't think he's that bad of a unit, to be honest. He's just
Also, I have petty reasons
never
for
optimal.
disliking him.
I
Because like,
think it's more like a case of you can always just see someone better. Like, far better.
Well, the thing
not
is
even
that, like,
marginally.
well, the thing with like original Xmas Takimaru, which I didn't like, was that like when you had the 80%, that was like a big deal back then because you couldn't just skill seed and glint. You could skill seed, but like glint was actually hard to get because there wasn't like Kool-Aid and stuff. So that was like why it was a little annoying. It's still annoying now, to be honest, for like farming. Okay, moving on. Skill lock resistance isn't nothing. This can work if you really need it to and can fish for RNG.
Yeah, let's fish for RNG with skill lock.
I don't get the point of having a chance to be immune to something in this day and age. Yeah, I don't either.
It's like
Okay, everyone.
Shuichi's, what's it called? 60% like resistance to fear or some garbage like that.
You can re-roll
I think
for
it's
it.
40%.
With other buffs.
40%
For the
wow, that's
resistance.
what I thought.
Yeah, I think it's like 40%. Let me just look it up. It's kind of funny. Yeah, 40%.
I actually
Big
thought it was
Housamo brain
underestimating.
here. Hey everyone, good art, but severely underwhelming. You mean to tell me I got Yasuori's break effect at a worse activation rate and condition? Wow. Yeah. Horus looking cool. Cool combatant. Smiley face. Huge Ponzu W. Shorty and tall duet. Also respect to Ponzu and Plus No for their AR arts. Alright. Is that a new artist, Ponzu, for this game? I know, like, I've seen them around on, like, Twitter and stuff, but I don't remember if they did anything else for Housamo yet.
Is this
Let me just see it.
one Bonzu, the one that's Horus?
No, it's the
Yeah, the Horus Otter is Ponzu. Yeah, I think that was the only one.
Oh,
that was the first thing
right.
he drew.
I feel like maybe I actually saw their art on Twitter just by chance. Not that I was following them, but it was recommended to me. I don't think they really do NSFW when I was looking at their stuff, but all their art looks really well lit in. Lit?
I just see occasional fan art in like, the art channels, so I've seen their name pop up every now and then.
Yeah,
I think this is like
my
their
favorite art
first
of the batch. That's
in-game art.
Not the 5-star one.
This is a pretty neat AR art, Otter Baby. Okay, we can move on now.
Awesome. So we'll now be talking about the first 5-star AR of the batch. This is going to be covered by Irby, but...
Okay, sure. This is the Chibi AR, the 5-star AR that features all of the event units on it. So right off the bat, this can be equipped by Aether and Nether units, Otter, Horus, and Tuaring. And you can't equip it on Ganglie and Ulan, but they're both Aether and Nether, so they can equip it anyways. So I guess we are restricted to having only 3 units per 3 unit restrictions per AR. Since that's clearly what prevented them from adding them here, I would have imagined. But that isn't really important. The effect of this AR is basically face start evasion to self at 50%, which is worse than the Toji AR, which is 60%. It's okay, I guess. It's not much worse than the Toji AR, but it's whatever. The other effect at least might have some use, which I still haven't found it yet, but it is an after move blessing to self and allies directly adjacent at a 60% rate. So this blessing can be useful for blessing strengthening means, and it's actually surprising that most units that have blessing strengthening are from those categories of Aether and Nether, but unfortunately, most of those units are not really units that want to move to begin with. The most notable ones that you would want to move are like Asterius, which already has face start. His variant, at least, already has face start blessing. So I guess you can refresh it if it somehow falls out, so you can keep getting that proc rate up. And Nobumichi, which is a defense boost. I don't really recommend using this AR for blessing strengthening strategies, but I guess it can be useful. Usually units that do have this blessing strengthening that you're using for blessing strengthening strategies already have a means of applying blessing to themselves and allies. This is probably just more like a safety net.
What was the condition for Nobumichi again? His native way of getting blessing? I forgot.
It's when he is hit.
Ew. Okay, this one's better for. This is actually quite good for Nobumichi then. If you
he actually needs to move, so it's probably the better one. But also his blessing strengthening is a defense buff, so
it also doesn't apply to him anyway.
He does.
What, the blessing strengthening?
Oh, the blessing strengthening? No, it doesn't. It's only for 2 allies.
I see.
2 the ally behind. So that's pretty shitty. But yeah. Other than that, I think that the AR does not deserve to be a 5-star, but also we got Tangaroa Moai face with
the spirit
Kijimuna 5-star, so whatever. This is better.
The Kijimuna small hands AR.
No.
One that looks like it was a tied up plastic bag.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all my thoughts. I think this is an average, worse than, slightly below average actually, AR, but I know Ara disagrees, but I'll just leave everyone's thoughts.
I do disagree because it is just like the Toji AR, except that it has another additional effect, which can be situationally useful if you're bringing a blessing strengthening team, which is, still a large meme, but is becoming more and more real nowadays with how many times we're getting it. But yeah, you don't have to equip this on the person that has blessing strengthening, since it bestows it to allies too. You can just, equip it on your actual mover, and then you can activate blessing strengthening in that way. So it works out quite nice.
I was going to make a joke about the Christmas Bertro AR because he can't give blessing to himself very easily. But he has no other reason to move, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So it would kind of suck to put on him.
You can put it
That's
on
why
Oz,
I didn't mention him.
Guys. Put it on Oz, and he can give blessing to Bertro, and then he'll freeze weakening and blessing strengthening everyone, and big damage.
Isn't this freeze like shot range or something?
No, it's
he also has it on before hitting.
Like on hitting. Yeah. See?
okay.
Amazing synergy right there. This is an excellent
Wow,
AR
the
for Bertro.
synergy! I can't believe this.
Okay, don't be sarcastic. It's actually quite good. Like, seriously, it's actually quite good on Oz and Bertro if you have those 2 units.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I disagree, but sure.
What do you mean? Bertro does big damage, for real, if you can get his blessing up. And he already does big damage with freeze and freeze weakening. And with Oz, it's just like freeze weakening and freeze and blessing strengthening. That's like...
assuming everything lines up, it'll be 16k globally. If he freezes everything and he gives the blessing and he gives Ardor, this is not counting the weakness because that only applies into a small area. But it's a good start considering that's with only Ardor. 4 common buffs, that is. So there's plenty to work with there. That could be something.
See?
Unfortunately, you are relying on a 60% blessing, but, at least it's not the 30% from earlier.
And there's stronger units, but if you're relying on Bertro, you probably want to exploit very rare freeze and freeze weakening. So at that point, you're probably doing this for challenges. But yeah, it's nice. For sure. With that specific setup. That I totally didn't just think of it just now. Anyway, if that's it, we can move on to the next topic.
Did Milk say anything?
I did not, because I think this AR is stupid if I have to fish for 60%. So, there you go.
It's blessing, though. It's like, once you roll for it, it lasts for 4 turns, right?
Yes, it's
I'm not
just
gonna
the only
resell
common
AR.
healing buff in the game.
Guys, it synergizes with the other blessing strengthening ARs that bestows it to the entire board. 2 times damage for everyone. And this one. Whoa! And you don't need to bring anyone that has native blessing. You can just use those 2 5-star ARs. Come on, guys. Believe.
Okay, sure. I will believe.
I'd like it if it was 100%, but I'm not resetting for ARs now. It's so dumb.
Honestly, I would forgive it if it was 80% with 60% blessing. Come on. Why 60? Why not 80%?
Just put on your mover who needs to constantly move. That's fine. Like, you're just gonna be using it for challenges anyways, for some, weird meme. Just use Shiva otherwise, but like, let's be real. It's a nice way to open up opportunities with units you normally wouldn't use for big damage. Which is ironic, because neither of the effects are 4 damage.
I'll believe in when I see it.
Okay, if you're watching this, Erta, you know what to do with your Bertro and Oz. We can move on to the next topic now.
Okay.
Kirby, please cover the other AR that I actually like a lot, but only because I'm so fucking thirsty and it looks like straight up sucks. So what do you think of the Ulaanbaatar Ganglie AR?
I think it's better than the last AR, but I think that's not a high bar, in my opinion at least. So basically what this AR does is it gives an afterbuff effect only for the first 10 turns. To after buff, you're going to have a 50% chance to get 4 CP for each buff. So it's kind of like a weaker single bolt club effect, but it also has an additional effect, which is before you hit anyone, you have a 30% chance of applying crit to yourself, which is rolled for every unit you're going to hit. So if you're using short range unit, go for it 3 times. and otherwise, and likewise all the other ranges. So it's okay, I guess, in that regard. The other crit ARs that we had had similarly or worse rates for crit, mostly worse for the most part. So this is an actual increase in rate for crit. In terms of units that I could potentially see this being useful on, I think the most obvious ones would be, honestly, one of the ones that just came out recently. Masashi would benefit from this AR, since he's constantly charging himself, and he also doesn't have crit, so it would be another damage amp for himself. And also Summer Shiva as well, because it would be funny get rerolling for crit by every enemy hit, but don't do that. You're probably better off just using one of the units in this, or just flat out on Sinchiloro to get the crit. But I guess this is a nice budget.
Are you really saying use Onsen Gelato instead of this AR?
Yes, because it will be crit.
I mean, the whole point of
it will be
AR
max level crit. And it will be 100%.
Onsen will be better. Jesus Christ.
What?
Of course,
yes.
Onsen will be better. This doesn't mean this one is. Jesus Christ.
Yes. I'm just saying that this effect is replaceable in itself.
Of course it's replaceable. All these effects are replaceable. Don't be like that, please.
But yeah, if you're using Summer Shiva, you're probably already using Onsen Shalal. Come on, unless you're a hipster and using
why would you
affiliations.
Don't use it for like him then. Use it for, I don't know, some other setup that you don't want to use Onsen Shalal.
Yes. I was just making a comment, Dara. Come on. But yeah, use this on any damage dealer that you don't mind getting your CS on that much. Those are my thoughts. Mostly, I thought it would be best on Masashi and Summer Shiva, honestly. But I'd like to hear what you guys think. I didn't comment on the art because even though people keep saying sex and hot, I don't know. I'm not seeing it.
He does not like pork.
Does not have grizzly hair.
It's not even about that. I'm just not seeing it. Ulan's face looks so fucking ridiculous. I'm not seeing it. Sorry. It just looks like a fucking meme. Ulan's face ruined it entirely for me.
Kirby doesn't like seeing happiness in other people. Thinks it's something to laugh at.
Happiness. What the fuck is that?
Having a
What the
good
fuck is
time.
that?
That's so funny, right? It's like, who has happiness in this day and age?
But yeah, those are my thoughts.
Thanks. Thanks. You guys can go first.
I have mixed feelings about this AR because while I actually got it and I was gonna put it on my world slot, who's Epicon, but then I realized, oh, I don't want to CP charge Epicon. I also realized, oh, this AR will give crit, the weaker one, instead of the crit that Epicon already has. So I can't put it on my world slot without like extremely gimping Epicon. Okay, so like for the actual effects, I don't really like this after buff effect because it's so low. Like increase 4 out of 50 at like, what was it? What was
50%.
50%?
Yes.
Like, why is it so low? It's too.
And it's only for the first 10 turns too, for some reason. Well,
yeah, it's like
too powerful.
It's like the expected value of 2 CP per buff, when if you compare it to like the single Bulls Club, that one was 6 CP per buff because it was like 10 CP at a 60% rate at artifact level 1. So it's just like, I think you need like really want dupes for this, especially with the crit effect. On the other hand, the crit effect I kind of see is like pretty decent for an AR. I don't really like 30%, but like it was kind of it like shows up during the event farming enough that I'm like, okay, I got a free 2 times damage. Sure, whatever. So, yeah. So in some respects, I don't really like this AR, and in others, I think it's just kind of fine too. Unfortunately, I cannot use it for flexing without looking like an idiot.
The fashionista walk on with this AR.
I mean, you already have like a live streamer that's fully
I've seen people
and level seated on your support slot. Like, it doesn't matter at this point.
Like, I don't want to like, put an AR that's like actively negative.
Yes, there's a difference between putting units that no one will use on your support, and also putting units that no one will use on your support with ARs that make them even worse. It's a big difference.
I feel like that's splitting hairs, but
I've seen people do sillier things to flex, so is it really a problem?
I don't see the problem. Someone's gonna use it either way.
Yeah.
It's important to flex.
Honestly, people might use this your support more just because it has a hot AR.
I'll send something in the chat now then. You can get jump scared by how amazing my supports are.
I mean, Arrow already got jump scared by your free slot.
Look at this.
The fucking Ishwaran. Oh no, that was Aubrey. Never mind.
Look at that.
That is a fully seated Ganglie at level 4. What am I looking at here?
Level 4? Why?
I got fucking tricked by that stupid gun harvest.
Level 4 Ganglie. It's fully skill seated.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't have been
fully
this side discussion while we're on stream, guys, but that was definitely a choice of support units to add.
It's fine, we can see it later. And we can talk about the comments if there's nothing else.
Yeah, you can start reading out the chat, Kirby.
Where did we leave off again?
I think we stopped at Otter Baby.
Otter Baby, okay. This isn't an AR, this is a spiritual dog warrior.
True.
The cutest 5-star AR ever. Plush Otter. Ah yes, Mr. Chibi Maker with his consented marketing interns. Also, yeah, Sosh does great cute AR arts. By Bertro, you mean the Christmas one, right? Yes. Neato. The one I got used up my luck. Message removed. 2 hot boys getting each other worked up. Pork AR. The Dojin cover AR. Can't write wasp without W. Ah yes, the AR that made me go check all of Mitsuwa buildings works again, cause why not? Okay chat, which one would you pick? Ganglie. I'd pick Ulan, hands down. I want both to bow down to me. I'm picking Ganglie because bored, and I don't want to deal with pregnancy.
What? Wait, is that a thing from Ulaanbaatar? I completely forgot that was a thing for them.
It's because of his world. It's from Xanadu, which everyone can then preg each other or something.
I thought that was just Temujin, but is it really everyone from there?
No, it's everybody.
Everybody from that world. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Temujin's the only one from that world that makes jokes. I don't think I've heard Ulaanbaatar make jokes like that before.
Well,
I think it's in his bio this time or something.
Well, I think it's more like usually you don't have people saying, I'm gonna make you pregnant, and Temujin is just the exception.
Yes. Temujin is the only one that just straight up says it to you. So,
unfortunately, Harvey was barren, so he could not bear Ulan's children batch. Maybe next time, Harvey.
Oh my god. Give this to Perrin to get his charge up before his attack down effect. Real big brain plays. Is it really big brain plays? Is he actually going to CS before he gets his charge effect?
It's technically possible.
Also, damn. Also, damn. Now I have to keep an eye out for this AR because of its buff CP charge. Or put it on Ashi 4 because of his break on attack. What?
Did you forget Ashi had break on attack?
No, I just don't understand what this means. But whatever. What? They're two playboys drunk off the atmosphere. Sex is of Iron Man, a feeling. Cynic gaze. Message removed. I try not to do anti-synergy on my supports. Show us the skill-seated units. Claps. During Annie, I got nothing but lean pork. They know who they are, but just seeing this AR Ganglie makes me craving pork again. Meat emoji and hot dog emoji. Moves and a peak of belly. Ulan, Ashi 4 is a water unit. Yes, I know, but I don't know what break has to do with the AR's effects. Also, wasn't it like super low rate anyways? Like 70% or something?
Yeah, it's something like that. Okay, for future reference, I mean, I thought this would be self-evident, but maybe not so after all this time we did this. Maybe try to read the chat with a slightly more enthusiasm rather than like a text-to-speech robot in those TikToks with Minecraft being played in the background. So we're gonna...
Maybe you should put the Minecraft videos on the background.
I already started putting on some gameplay. Shut the fuck up, jeez. There you go, TikTok on our discussions. The dream.
No, you should put those.
Now we just. But no.
You should post those satisfying clips of destroying things. Yeah, that's the clips you should be putting.
Okay. Anyways, now that Irby's very compassionate speech is done, we are gonna be moving on to the transients. The first one to be talked about is going to be Otter. This is going to be covered by Zalgus. Go ahead.
Oh boy, and truly a winner for my first one. Right, so Otter is the new unit on Banner, and he's definitely the unit of all time. He is a long slash unit who debuffs enemies, but is bad at it mostly, and can also give some allies some mediocre support. He has increased vertical range, which I'm pretty sure last time we talked about long slash units with Gordon, we complained about how there's literally no long slash units having increased horizontal movement. And here's another one with vertical movement instead of horizontal movement. But we're not even really missing out on much anyway. But anyway, half of his kit is on move, so let's go through those first. After moving, he gains tenacity and combo, and gives evasion to allies left and right, and acceleration to himself and allies left and right. Acceleration is not interesting, and tenacity is pretty bog standard stuff, so nothing is interesting there. Combo is good at least, because Otter wants to fish for his subpar rates on hit as many times as he can, so he'll definitely need the help. And the evasion is nice, but it's only a 60% rate. As far as evasion bestowal goes, it's actually on the higher end, since there's a lot of evasion bestowals that hover around 30 to 50% rate. He doesn't grant evasion to himself, but he does at least give himself tenacity to have some staying power. There are some units who are better at evasion bestowal, like Savior Plus on Makara and the Mages. Or there's like only Waka 5 who has 100% rate. But if we're going specifically for allies left and right, then Otter's main competition is Wakan Tanka 5, Vanilla Wakan 5, who has a 70% rate, and Christmas Nomad, who has a 50% rate, although he also has Concentration and Glint and bestows it to himself. But honestly, if you're bringing those two units, you're probably not trying for evasion spam strats. But yeah, either way, their other effects are a lot more useful than Otter's. So I wouldn't really revolve around this effect, because if you do, you have to put up with the rest of his kit. Now, also on move, he applies 2 effects to enemies. He pulls enemies in slash range 1 row away, which is definitely a choice for a pull skill. Now note that this isn't even long slash pull range, which is really bizarre, and it's kind of stupid that he can't even pull in for all of his attack range. It's like it would be like if Gordon, who wants to actually affect, or who is long slash and wants to affect everyone in his long slash range, where he could only pull in a slash range. It's very bizarre. Like, I don't know why they have it like that. The other effect he has is healing reversal in enemies in slash range. These are 100% and 90% rates respectively, so they're at least reliable. Note that healing reversal, he can't healing reversal enemies he pulls in on the same turn. Pulls will happen last, so Otter will heal reversal in slash range first, and then he will pull the row 1 square away and not actually heal reversal them. So that's some fantastic kit synergy there. But for the healing reversal, Otter is one more of a very slim number of units who can actually apply the effect. He joins the ranks of Hermes 4, Night Festival Ellie, Seamerg, and Gyobu 4, and Hasta 5 CS, I guess. But quite frankly, Otter is the worst at applying it, like, easily. Unlike everyone else, he has to move for it, and his range is worse than the rest, because they are magic, shot, or long slash plus magic for Ellie. And then there's Otter, who is stuck with slash range, not even long slash range, which, again, makes me wonder why he's even long slash when a lot of his kit doesn't, or part of his kit anyway, doesn't actually work on long slash range. It's very silly. Anyway, onto the attacking part of his kit. Before hitting freeze at 50% rate and a 1.5 times advantage against freeze, this rate is garbage. Even when you consider that he has combo if you move him, it's only a 75% rate. And because he has no innate buffs besides combo, and his attack stat is middling and long slash has a mediocre multiplier, his damage is unimpressive at a maximum of 2.6k, assuming he freezes on the first hit. So, not impressive for debuffing, and his damage isn't impressive either. Also, before hit, remove 1 buff at a 40% rate. This is even worse. While it's not an uncommon rate to see for remove buff, it's pretty bottom of the barrel rates. Many remove buffs are higher than this, be it 50% or even higher, like at Nobumichi's 80% rate, and that's not even getting into skills which have far superior range, or like anyone who is magic range for one, or for those who remove more buffs, like Taramite, who incidentally also has a 40% rate, but she has concentration, and yeah, she removes 3 buffs all at once. So then you have Otter here, who removes 1 buff at a 40% rate. The only real plus here is that Otter can fish for it twice with combo, but with everything that's been said, do you really want to use the move slot on him? And lastly, he has some defensive stuff, or when being hit stuff. He has a 40% charm rate when he's hit, and he heals himself by 300 before being hit. But yeah, those are both mediocre rates for 40% and 60%, so nothing excellent there. Anyway, I'm not even going to bother with the ARs and team setups, because Otter is really bad. He's a long slash unit who can't... He's not even fully effective against his given range, because he can't pull it all in, he can't debuff all of it, and his rates are atrocious. If you wanted a freezer or a remove buffer, there are any number of units who could do it more reliably and more effectively than he could, while also providing other benefits. If you wanted pullers, we have plenty of people who can do it globally. We just got Gordon, we have the updated or the skill evoed Behemoth, etc, etc. The only real unique thing I could think of him is having him at frontline with 2 allies adjacent so he can evasion spam. but it's really not worth it since you'd need seeding and all 3 skill buff rates to actually guarantee it. And also, if you wanted to effectively do that, it would have really helped to have horizontal movement so you could actually position properly and quickly. But wait, he doesn't have that because long slash aren't allowed that. So yeah, as the final new unit of the year, Otter is a pretty big flop. And yeah, that's Otter. I don't like him.
I think that it's funny that LifeWonders looked at Gordon's kit and thought he is too powerful. Let's do a 10 times worse version of that.
I wouldn't say 10
Otter
times.
was really good.
This is Irby saying.
No.
This is Irby indirectly saying Gordon is still good.
No, it's not. It's really not. On top of needing to move this unit for basically almost the same effects, the only difference is the healing reversal and the buff removal. Almost everything else is another variation of whatever Gordon had. But that's besides the point. On top of having shitty rates, that pull is ridiculously bad. Like, it would have made a lot of sense. I would have understood that pull if, as Alga said, it was long slash range, because realistically you'd only use this on horizontal maps or maps where you could pull everyone into that range anyways. But since he can only pull slash range, it's pointless. Why is this here? Well, what is the point? It's just to fail to inflict healing reversal and also have a chance of applying freeze. Like, I get it. He does have combo to have an additional chance of applying freeze, but I don't know. I also don't see anything synergizing with anything else in this kit. It's just a mess. I'm not even sure if I can classify this unit as something.
I like your footage, Ara, because I've been watching it while we were speaking, and it's funny to see Otter get charmed and do tickle damage against Tsukuyomi and almost die repeatedly. It's really putting into perspective how little he does. Like, I see Cthulhu hiding there in the back while Otter does scratch damage against the front row, and then Cthulhu just blows them up because he's the real long slash unit here.
I mean, yeah, I'm pretty proud of this footage. I don't know why Harvey's like shitting on it. It's like, I know that doesn't seem like Otter's doing much, but that's just the reality of things, right? Especially if I'm forced to use support Otter, where his freeze ends up activating last.
Yeah.
So it's like he's actually doing quite a lot for what he can in support, for constantly pulling the enemy in. To be within range for this Ombre Tigre Kasuga setup, which I think is pretty cool. But I think I have a problem with Otter in a more global sense, and some of you have already got this impression from me or a taste of it when I initially covered Gordon in my own review for him. It's like, god damn, LifeWonders really hate slash units, don't they? Like, we already have column clears that have guaranteeable big damage, and we have board wipers that have guaranteeable big damage. And then here we have like a slash unit that's just, everything is unreliable, and like, even at its peak, it's very middling. And there's not like, the only guaranteeable parts of his kit, or that already guaranteed, is the healing reversal and the combo. Oh, and I guess that's nasty on move. It's like, his freeze isn't guaranteeable, so you have to rely on 50%.
And the very important pull, Ara.
Yeah, the pull is like the only good thing, but then you have to move him, and everything else is kind of like pointless for him. It's just like, he's a general purpose frontliner, but like, goddamn, this is such a trash unit. Very reminiscent of Gordon, which I don't know why Irby was defending, because this is pretty much has the exact same problems I had with Gordon. It's like, nothing is reliable, and their peak damage isn't that great anyways, and it's like, you have to rely on combo buttons and all things. And it's like they just have a bunch of auxiliary
disagree.
or whatever.
There were a lot of differences. Like, you did not need to move Gordon for once.
Yeah, but you also were encouraged not to move him at all, too, with his unmoved thing, you know? They both have these stupid restrictions, that's my point. It's like, you don't want to move...
I'm not saying he's
you have to
very
constantly
good,
move Otter, but with Gordon, it's like you have to not touch him at all. Okay, gosh.
Maybe
It's like
both
saying-
continue talking together.
This is...
This does not RB defending Gordon hard, and I really should have done.
He's the exact same unit.
Well,
So ridiculous.
well,
It's just not...
yes, I disagree with you, Ara, because Gordon at his peak, like, you know, if he hits everything, he is several times more useful than Otter.
He
You
better,
know, he'll
he's
have
a
double
fucking
lock them and
five-star.
still lock
Oh my
them.
god, of
Or-
course he's gonna be better, but I'm saying it's pretty damn similar that his peak and like his best, like all his auxiliary effects are locked behind such like a tight condition of like being unmoved. This is just exactly the same of, you know, having to constantly move fucking Otter here to get his effects off. Gordon's just the opposite, where you're not allowed to touch him at all, and they, in that sense, they're kind of both painfully restrictive. It's like, why have these restrictions at all when
That's
they're already restricted by
control,
the shit
because you can
range?
just leave him in the middle.
Why is the pull only slash range when he's fully long slash? It's like, why are you gimping slash units so much more when you already have board wipers killing everything guaranteed and comp players killing everything guaranteed when they're on its range? It's like, why are you like being so like shy about making long slash units any good, or slash in general? Jesus Christ.
I don't think that's the case. I think that this unit in particular could have been a lot better. I feel like if they made the pull long slash, the healing reversal as well long slash, and added an additional effect in there, it would have been not such a bad unit. But the fact that he can't even pull and affect his entire range, it's what gets me to say that he's really just shit. Especially since you need to move him every time.
I mean, I agree with you, but it's also like it's like, can you really say that while defending Gordon in the same breath? I would go a step further and say it's not excusable for this entire category.
Stop being so obsessed.
Obsessed?
I'm not defending, I'm just saying that this is a very much worse version than that.
Okay, well,
because I saw
you're right,
a lot
it
of
is
similar
much worse,
effects.
but it's also like Gordon is, that's like even more horrendous because Gordon himself is quite disappointing.
Yes, and that was the point that I was trying to get across.
Okay, the fact that
this
Irby has
is
finally said Gordon is disappointing, I will take that W.
It wasn't about the W or the L, it was about saying that Otter is an absolute trash unit. That I even compared to Gordon to say that he's even worse than that. So yes,
this is honestly,
he is.
the footage you're seeing here is the most you'll get out of him when, you know, everyone is only doing kind of middling damage in the first place, and everyone else has catered towards making his shit unravel things like work. But you know, the pull and Kasuga actually doing damage and rolling for guts, and you know, trying to chip your own HP down from everyone failing to kill in one shot so that Omri Tigre can get limit. This is like literally the only use I could think of with them. It's not good.
Yeah, if you wanted a puller, you would get someone more reliable. That's it.
Kangaroo Mugen. Or
Yeah, there's a variety of units who could pull and actually be useful beyond that, and not waste the move slot.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're done with this. We talked way too much about this shit.
Milk.
Oh, Milk. Did he say anything? I think he did.
we forgot to compare it to Valentine Vargas. Weren't you going to do that comparison? Or
I mean, do you not see the footage? You move him like Valentine Vargas, he pulls units in, he has defense buffs. It's just like that. I don't know what to tell you.
Oh.
Valentine Vargas is also shit, so.
Yeah, about this Otter unit, I don't really care for it. I tried using Erida's, but he died. It's kind of sad, even though I put him with all these defensive units like Ganglie 4, Choji, and Klaus, and he still died. So that was very sad. So, yeah. I'm looking forward to using them in some dumb challenge quest, but I'm not really sure of how much people are going to be using this unit for like new players when there's just like so many other options out there that are more consistent and better at killing stuff. I do see the clear being kind of funny though. So yeah. There we go. Meme unit tier that I'm looking forward to using.
Alright, I feel like still work.
Also, incidentally, speaking of his terrible range, it's amusing that his 3-star is slash range, but his pull is instead 1 square away. And also he doesn't have heal reversal, so what was already bad was made even worse in his 3-star, which is not surprising, but I find it funny that they really felt that effect needed to be downsized for his 3-star. It's terrible.
Yeah, well, no one's gonna be using either 3 or 4 on this, so who cares?
Yeah, that's correct. Is he our first dud rule maker? I feel like that all the other rule makers are.
I mean,
somewhat
Horus
useful.
was a bit of a meme. He's good, but it's also like a big meme with his range.
I thought regular Oz was kind of
That's
sucky.
true.
Oh yeah, right. Regular rolls. Yeah, okay, that changes everything. Or that completely changes my statement. Then never mind.
Let me check. There was pre-Evo Corp, and Nobumichi is kind of meme too, but Nobumichi I think is actually kind of fun. Yeah,
I saw
regular
someone
Oz
prepare
is
footage of
definitely-
Nobumichi, and it was actually pretty impressive. They were able to use them and some other random fucker units to like beat the Invaders Clash, I think.
It was Ballor 4, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was that one. I think that was pretty good synergy. Okay, if that's it, then please read out the chat. So, I guess the last place we were at was something about meat emoji, so go look for that. And, no text to
Meat?
speech, please.
Oh, the one with
I
the
got-
pork and the hot dog.
It should be I got too many otters.
I got too many.
Prisma
It's just shortly below
saying
that.
I got too many otters. Yeah.
Oh, right, I see. I got too many otters. Very cute companion of justice. I think he's decently cute, but I've seen better otters. Everyone look, he's a long slash unit. Lamau. That is
Pretty
a
much.
very apt comment. These Redditors weren't lying. Getting a particular 4-star can be harder than getting the featured 5-star. Yeah, I've seen other games where the 4-stars are notorious for being more difficult. But to be fair, those games have guarantees, so I don't know why it's so hard here. Well, I don't know if the rates are worse. I haven't looked at them in a while. Wow, this kit is awful. He's way too unfocused. Yes, that is correct. I had 72 polls and he came on the 72nd. Al Hadu Lila. I unfortunately do not know how to say those. Well, I hope you were actually praying to get him. Well, actually, I don't know if I would hope that either because he's so bad. I wanted Tuaring and got Ulaanbaatar. That's a shame because Tuaring's actually good. Or unique at any rate.
Right on cue with Harvey jumping in after someone mentions they got Ulaanbaatar.
Very cool gameplay footage of Otter getting charmed and doing nothing.
This is probably the
yes,
best
I
footage you
agree.
will ever get of support Otter. As you heard from Milk, his own daughter died from, before they could even do anything, so.
And this is with tenacity, by the way, which is simply not enough in many cases. So
It's like fucking,
yeah,
what's it called? Blood of the Beast. It's something strong with this unit that they're putting that in this unit kit. Jesus Christ.
if I'm trying to play it off as a okay thing. Yeah, it's not great. Very charming. For a character whose power to cheapify others is to cheapify others, you'd think he'd have at least one attack debuff. Yeah, I don't know what this entire kit is really supposed to... Like, I haven't looked into his lore much, but I do know he has the ability to cheapify others as per his 5-star AR. So, yeah, I don't know what this kit is supposed to be. Because it's like
there's some lore about it, but yeah, I wouldn't really get into it. There's a reason why it's something else for the shrinking. Yeah.
Oh, great. It's good gameplay British angry emoji. As good as I'll get for support Otter anyway. Oh, little baby man. Oh, little baby man. Yeah, you are. Otter emoji times 3. Ara feeling proud that he made Otter into a really shitty boogeyman.
Okay, I didn't make him into a boogeyman. That's your own inference. That's completely wrong. What he is just a Valentine Burgess. And if you think he's a shitty boogeyman, then that's what Valentine Burgess is too. But they're trash.
Lamau, this argument, stop fighting. Chase Hunter Echo. The streamers are fighting, not the Gordon discourse on stream. Yes, conflict. Yeah. I don't know. Gordon. I could think of a meme comic where it's a normal conversation and then someone suddenly says Gordon and it devolves into a argument. I will perhaps make that later, if I can be bothered. Oh, he tried to shrink Sapatli, but it didn't work, and Sapatli wanted to be small and eat pizzas. Understandable. Infinite pizza life hack. Cat emoji. He's a cat, right? Yep. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, what? Oh, the infinite pizza life hack. I sure do hope Sapatli ult is more usable than his perm. He deserves it. I mean, I wouldn't say Sapatli is that bad. I mean, he's at least not this bad. Valentine's bar guest is great. What do you mean? No. Definition of waifu over meta for me. Bar guest. Arwell Blorbo over meta? Question mark. Yes. I don't know what that means. Regular Oz is at least a decent damage mage under the right conditions. You can make that work. Yeah, you have to get him hit. And then hope he doesn't implode from the fact that he's getting hit. Which, for a damage dealer, you never want to give the enemy initiative. Don't look up Otter Baby Seal. Worst mistake of my life. Oh yes. Lamau, something rules of nature. I was on Twitter and just found horny at Housamo Otter are ban Fenrir better than Otter. I mean,
I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I don't agree.
I guess ban Fenrir can spread curse and do some mediocre flat damage, but I mean he doesn't do much either. So, but Otter can at least pull.
It's just that the pull by itself, when everything else is shit, makes it just feel like it's not even worth it half the time. But Fenrir doesn't have anything as fancy as that.
Fancy. It's really terrible if we're calling.
But yeah.
If we're calling a pull fancy on a slash or long slash unit, that's it's real bad because it's not that uncommon.
I mean, it's fancy because it's like one of the most solid or break it kind of feels you can get with slash units, since they're the ones that benefit most from pulls. Like pulling does not affect conquerors at all, as you know.
Yeah, but you could use Gordon, who just pulls by existing, or Boogeyman.
Then you have to use Gordon. This shit has 50% double block only if you don't move him.
Yeah, but he's not Otter.
Yeah, well, we're comparing like shit with like garbage here, so whatever.
Where was I? It was Marco Paul's Macro. Literally any other long slash unit is better than this. Well,
there's maids.
Debate. Oh yeah, there's maids. Have her push all your allies away. Very cool. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Otter's definitely bottom of the barrel for bomb slash, as we've gone into. I said right conditions for Oz. Didn't say it was good. Yeah, I guess. We don't talk about vanilla Oz here.
Okay, we'll move on to the next topic. We're finally getting into some meat. Alright, we are going to be talking next about... thank you, Zagos. We're going to next be talking about Horus. This is going to be covered by Irby, so hop right in whenever you're ready.
Okay, so Horus variant. There's a little bit of almost everything, to be honest. He has a lot of utility. Some of it is kind of like fleeting utility that is not easily refreshable, and others are pretty consistent. That, in the sense that you can consistently continue having them up. It's not just phase start conditionals of just whenever he appears. So basically, he has some attack buffing utility on phase start, which is only going to be rolled once per phase, but it's usually good enough. It's 2 attack buffs. They're both guaranteeable pretty easily, and one of them is concentration, which is also to self. All of these buffs are also applied to himself. So this concentration will also influence all of his other rates, which is going to turn him out into a pretty consistent unit if you end up skill seating him or something. And also for other phase start effects, he has a measure of board control by fearing 3x3 square radius in front of him at a guaranteeable rate of 90% as well, which is pretty good. If you see that, it's 100% as well. So for the things that he can continue to bestow for the rest of the phase, instead of just only having them phase start, is he can consistently give out fear advantage 1 square around himself, which is going to benefit the units attacking the units that got feared at phase start for sure. So it's unfortunately only a 1.5 damage multiplier, but he already bestows concentration and vigor potentially to units directly adjacent to himself on phase start. So if you couple those up, that's a pretty significant attack boost on its own. He also has defensive buffer utility. He's capable of bestowing defense up left and right whenever he's hit. This is also guaranteeable pretty easily if you somehow skill seeding, which is what I mean. He's going to get that phase start concentration, which will bump it up to 90%, and on top of that, the skill seed will make it 100%. It's only for left and right, but for adjacent, he has an after buff effect of protection, which it's pretty respectable 60% rate with the concentration. It's not. I wouldn't scoff at it since it's an after buff effect. It's going to roll multiple times for every buff, as everyone already should know. And he also has tenacity on phase start, which I forgot to mention on the fleeting utility. But yeah, if you couple up all these buffs, you got 3 defensive buffs right on the first turn. This is potentially very, very powerful defensive unit right there, just by himself. He also has debuff mitigation, which also helps him in that defensive buffer aspect. He has reflect debuff on move, also guaranteeable through this concentration rate increase and the skill seeding. And he also has a means of removing debuffs from himself at 60%, which will go to 70% with the concentration, after buff, which is going to roll pretty often. It's not going to be able to remove any skill locking effects, but it's good enough. And speaking of skill locking effects, he, on move phase end, also bestows blind resistance to himself and allies around him. This is only for 1 turn, which means that he can use this effect to consistently get a shot at potentially re-rolling for his after buff effects every turn for himself, which is pretty nice. And also give him the much needed bind immunity, which is debuff removal does not bestow him. So that's, I would say, pretty nice. Also has some minor rolls of revival at 70%, but who cares? No one cares about that. He's a pretty defensive unit already, but if you're going against big damage, I guess he can save a unit, maybe. And right, I forgot to also say that he also has another form of board control outside of the 3x3 fear on phase start, and this one can be rerolled. This one is actually consistent. He can consistently apply bind whenever he hits units and the units directly behind them. So, and that's also guaranteeable pretty easily with the concentration and the skill seeding. That's pretty nice. It's practically the same as Taramiti's kill lock, except slightly worse since it doesn't cover units left and right, unfortunately. But it's still pretty respectable bind rate. Especially when you consider bind also reduces the enemy's damage. So you're looking at potentially four different means of reducing the damage on Horus right on the first turn, which is, I would say, pretty absurd through the bind, protection, defense up, and then the tenacity. That's probably the bulkiest we've ever got right off the bat, I would say, especially since everything is super consistent in his kit outside of his shaky after buff rates, which are shaky because they are after buff. You're supposed to roll for them with other buffs.
Honestly,
but that's still pretty nice.
I think they're pretty decent for after buff rates, and also
yeah,
it just has a shit ton of buffs too, like in abnormal amount. So it's actually pretty high just for that reason too.
Yeah, I forgot to mention something, but he does have increased horizontal movement, which he does need to move to get that reflect debuff, but it's not really critical. But having the increased horizontal movement will definitely help if you're intending to roll for that reflect debuff, since it does add a very important layer of defense in this form of defensive strategy. He's a very strong defensive unit, but he's also surprisingly good at of offensive buffing with his concentration and vigor on phase start being easily guaranteeable. It's unfortunate. It has an unfortunate range, which is pretty sad, but after the first turn, I'd say you can pretty much get around that pretty easily. But yeah, I would say this unit is pretty good. He's pretty much a jack of all trades. He does almost everything. The only thing he doesn't do is like remove buffs from enemies. Everything else, I think he would be a bit overloaded if he wasn't just a fucking slash range unit, which you can also fix, I guess, with both if you want to, but I wouldn't do that. They're better units for that. He's just a very good all-rounder that does a bit of everything, and you can probably slot him in on every team, on any team you want, and win. Yeah, that's pretty nice. I'd say he's one of the better units on this, or at least one of the units that can provide the most utility from this batch alone. But yeah, those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Irby. I'm of the opinion, unlike most other people, that this unit, Horus, he's actually, I would say, the best unit on the banner. I know a lot of people are saying Tuaring, but I feel like Horus just does way too much. I kind of liken him to Chapter 8, or I guess Chapter 7 for Kayokami. He just does everything, as you said. But he actually does even more than him in terms of just being more critically offensive with his bind as well as fear. It's like in addition to all these defense measures he's also denying the enemy from even playing properly, denying their skills and denying their movement. And it's like all this is guaranteeable. Like, what the fuck? You think some of this would be shaky, but no, it's like everything except for the afterbuff stuff which has a shit ton of reroll chances, is guaranteeable. It's kind of ridiculously scary. Well, I guess there's heal when he's hit too, but since he's a tank, he's probably going to be hit a bunch of times as well. And it's also well boosted with concentration. It's and yes, he is Audible with his bind, just like Utter Mighty, which is quite nice. And yeah, I don't know, I had a lot of fun testing him out when I was collecting this footage, because, you know, as you can see, like, I know you probably don't want to move him all the time, but honestly, Reflect debuff at such a kind of accessible way of regaining it, and being able to spread it to allies as well, is quite powerful for the you know, most piss annoying quests that have a ton of debuffs, which is getting more and more relevant as a threat nowadays for challenges. I think the fact that, you know, you don't really even need to think about, you know, the differences between what his perks are versus what your allies' perks are help him in terms of ease of use as well, because it's like almost every single buff that he gives to allies, he also gives to himself. Actually, pretty much every single buff he gives to allies, he has to himself, and he only has like 1 or 2 unique things just for himself, the Tenacity and Remove debuff. So the Vigor and Concentration and Reflect debuff and Bind Resistance and Protection and Defense up and the Fear advantage, that's all to his entire team, both himself and allies. And it's like very minimal effort for it. You don't even need to move him constantly, even despite him very well tailored towards moving. But you may actually want to move him constantly if you want to spam Reflect debuff for particularly annoying enemies like Tiscali Poka, who also has his own Reflect debuff. But I'm very, very impressed with this, and I feel like this is a good step towards making actually good slash units. I know it seems stacked like you said, but at this point that's pretty much what slash units have to be in order to find place. And I feel like Horus might actually just be good for almost any kind of challenge. He has both defense and offense and like countermeasures, as well as, you know, denial measures. Only thing I'd say is maybe his healing isn't sufficient on his own, so maybe you'll want to bring an additional healer for that. And as for not being able to remove buffs, I mean, in some cases he's able to deny them in the first place because he's able to bind the enemy if they're not resistant. But yeah, I am, as a whole, very, very impressed by this unit, and I definitely will be pulling for him once Gangstar reprints, and then I use my stones on him if I get them. Because otherwise, yeah, I definitely would have pulled hard for Horus. But yeah, those are my thoughts.
I think it's funny that he is the first unit who has given concentration to allies on phase start, which I don't know why it's so prohibitively rare. It's almost all either phase start to self, or you have to move or hit something. So it's definitely unique that he gives concentration on phase start. It's definitely something. I don't know why it pleases me to see. Well, actually I do. It's because it's both a rate buff and a damage buff. But I really like that he gives 2 attack buffs on phase start. I don't know why, but it just pleases me a lot. Like, we don't really get many units who do that, so that's nice. But yeah, everything else that was said already was correct. He just like has a lot of everything in his kit. I also like that his bind resistance is only 1 turn, because it can actually be to his advantage for the purposes of repeatedly triggering on buff effects, which is a minor thing, but I guess it does also have the disadvantage that you do have to stick near Horus constantly, but that's fine because his entire kit is based around clumping up. But yeah, it's definitely a very powerful kit, powerful generalist kit that even in the parts where we've had some of it before, we've had like phase start buffers before, I think, but I think he does it better. If not on par, but better. So unfortunately I didn't get him, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't really have much to add. I don't have him, so can't really say he exists. I don't want to pull for him, but unfortunately, since I've already told these guys, my luck isn't too good in this gacha, so there you go. It's not happening. I think he has potential for like free quest farming and vertical, just if you like slot him in like position one or three. But to be honest, vertical is so easy that it doesn't really matter. So I think instead I should sort of like evaluate him as opinion from a new player. And for a new player, this unit's probably pretty great. Where you just put him into like T formation for like a challenge quest, and then he'll just do everything for you. And then there you go, you win.
The guaranteed bind should not be allowed like this so easily. I'm glad we got with Tower Mighty, but now we're getting it so easily with Horus, which honestly I think is more accessible than Tower Mighty's. I know it's like a lesser spread, but he just has an easier time hitting people in general with slash range than Tower Mighty's thrust range. So very powerful for people who don't exactly know the game mechanics. He slapped them in, and just as Milk said, he kind of just shits on every single mechanic you could possibly face. Okay, is that it for everyone?
No.
Okay, that's it from everyone then?
Yes.
You can read out the chat then, Irby.
Where did we leave off again?
Good question. Probably something about solid, I don't know.
Were we at, I said right conditions for Oz, was that it?
Yeah, I didn't say it was good. You can tell because it starts with Horus.
Okay, sure. Horus man, take my lettuce by the hand. Salad emoji. Christmas Horus is pretty good, but not necessarily because he's slash unit. I mean, kind of, but he already does everything, who cares? He's primarily a utility unit, even though he also bestows his attack buffs to himself. You're primarily going to use him for the utility of making everyone busted and tanking as well, so it doesn't really matter if he's slash at that point. You always be my favorite rule makers. I love my pulls. I'm looking at my Ophian dupe. OMG. Alien girl with heart eyes emoji
Irby,
twice.
Text this speech under, please. Please.
No. Told you Horus should have been the 5-star, not Ganglie.
Ganglie.
Ganglie. Okay, sure. It doesn't. What is this? An OC kit weary emoji? Yes, this is what an OC kit looks like.
Good thing I like Horus.
Ophian's wife. It's definitely nice to have a good 4-star support tank. I wouldn't even call him just a tank. It's just, there's so many things. I don't think it's fair to call him a tank. I want a divorce. Horus came with many gifts this year, huh? I thought Milk was Harvey for a second.
What?
Box with cat emoji.
The Harv mind strikes again. Okay, thank you for covering all the chat, Irby. We are now going to be talking about the 5s. Actually, never mind, this is the 1 or 4-star. This already felt like a 5-star though, but we are going to talk about probably the second best unit, or most people would argue the best unit in the batch. The other 4-star, Tuaring. So this is going to be covered by Zalgus Skin. Go ahead and talk about this dapper Brit.
You must mean the other 5-star on banner. You were right the first time.
Right.
Right, so here's our other 4-star limited on banner. It's Tuaring, and he comes as a buffer who has 3 turns of glory, and then he kind of falls off a cliff. But those 3 turns can be very powerful. So I'll talk about Tuaring's biggest talking point last, because it's a pretty good one. So when appearing, he has tenacity, a bunch of tenacity related things, which are kind of weird, but whatever. When appearing, he has tenacity strengthening to self and allies globally, which is just a 10% proc rate while he has tenacity, which is a bit unusual. Usually you see, defensive and offensive buffs, but tenacity is common anyway. There's no shortage of units who can take advantage of the bonus, and it's a permanent buff, so you'll be able to take advantage of it as much as you like, so long as you have some form of consistent tenacity. or if you have the units, say like Gyobu 4, who constantly spams it onto himself, that sort of thing. Tuaring himself only gains tenacity once though, which is on phase start to self. So he really only benefits for 1 turn, which is a shame. But I guess it is a free 1 turn 10% rate. He also has 2 times advantage against tenacity, which is there, I guess. I don't know what this is supposed to be about, because it doesn't even fully penetrate a max level tenacity, which, I mean, to be fair, enemies rarely have max level skills, but it's a strange skill, but it's not important. After buff, tenacity again. After buff, Tuaring gains limit, which can be pretty nice since Tuaring can potentially receive a fair amount of buffs from allies, but at any rate, Tuaring isn't really supposed to be your main attacker, so it's not the most important thing. And before hitting, also flat damage to enemies above and below the targets, which further supplements Tuaring's damage a bit more. Nothing major. Unfortunately, it doesn't actually apply to the unit he hits, which is strange, but it's fine, because if they're all lined up in a column, he'll be spreading the damage repeatedly. So for the first turn of each phase, Tuaring will apply on move a variety of debuffs onto the enemies. In slash range, 1 square away, he applies possession and charm advantage for 2 times damage. And in slash range, 2 squares away, so the row behind that, he applies charm. So this is kind of like LECS or Doubt. LECS applies possession strengthening to enemies with her CS to make them hit harder, and Doubt does much the same thing. Although Doubt also, both of those things also debuff the enemies when they're not possessed. But yeah, so this is a much weaker effect than those two in terms of just neutering their damage or making them blow up the row behind them. But at any rate, it's a nice way to disable a big clump of enemies at once. You can disable a 2x3 space, assuming that none of them are immune. It only works on turn 1, but it is completely 100% reliable, which is great if they're actually vulnerable to it, because it will give you basically just a free turn to set up. But yes, now we can talk about Tuaring's ally buffs. On turn start, he applies Ardor and Crit to allies in slash range. The Crit is only for turns 1 to 3 over the entire battle, and the Ardor rate is only 70%, which kind of sucks. So this is the first part of Tuaring's 3 turns of glory. His single biggest buff, Crit, is only for 3 turns. But either way, it's a reliable buff at 90% rate, and again, he has that tenacity to bump that up for turn 1, and it applies to multiple allies, which is rare for something like Crit, and it's on a good timing at turn start. And together, Tuaring will grant 9.6 multiplier, which is quite nice, considering he doesn't have to move to do it. Also, when attacking, Tuaring grants self and allies in slash range glint, so the rate kind of sucks. It's a 60% rate, but at least Tuaring can fish for it multiple times, because he snipe range those. Anyway, now for the real draw of Tuaring's kit. When Tuaring appears, he applies a skill to allies globally, and the skill is on move at a 100% rate, spread 3 buffs to allies adjacent. Now, this is obviously a unique and potentially very powerful effect. There's lots of units who have a mix of unique and or powerful buffs, and you can just spread them to all 3 allies if positioning allows for it. So to note, this also works on buffs gained on move, because the spread goes afterwards. You can test this with simple stuff like anyone who has like Blood of the Beast, for example, they'll give a tenacity to their allies. So for any units who gain a buff that you want to spread and it's on move, then it's possible for them to do so. Now, there are many candidates for this, but the big elephant in the room that is obvious as a choice, and I saw it floating around almost immediately, is Summer Shiva, because he'll never leave. Shiva will bestow limit, ardor, and weapon change to all allies adjacent. I think his movement expansion can't be spread because it's an irremovable buff, so I think it just gets skipped in the selection entirely. Pardon me, I'm about to sneeze. Pardon. So because of how it bestows to adjacent allies, it's really easy for Shiva to literally turn your entire team into all range, especially because he has a movement expansion to position well. And given how he's spreading a decent amount of damage buffs with Otter and Limit, you could feasibly turn, you could feasibly set up 2 other damage dealers who are already powerful, like the Law, for example, and just have them all ranged and buffed at a decent rate. Or you could also have 2 debuffers and just throw a million debuffs at the enemies on hit. Like, you could pair up Miniaki and who else? Like, what's his face? Ibisu. I forget what Halloween Ibisu does. I just remember he's similar to Miniaki. But yeah, you could set up 2 debuffers to just throw a million debuffs at them on hit, and then Shiva will still attack them. So for a setup like that, there's any number of things that Tuaring will enable Shiva to do. And another notable unit for the same reason is Vanilla Kalki, who is able to get weapon change all and a variety of attack buffs. For the purposes of stacking damage buffs, he unfortunately also has Adamantine, which can possibly mess things up. But at any rate, Kalki gives attack up, weapon change all, and berserk plus to himself, as well as vigor to self and allies on move. So Kalki can give, unlike Shiva, he can give some pretty long-lasting buffs as compared to Shiva's Ardor and Limit. Also, there's no overlap with Tuaring's Ardor, so potentially a greater ceiling for damage, although I guess Shiva's personal damage ceiling is already a lot higher, but it's definitely a choice. Now, there are some problems with this skill. It's not all fun and games, unfortunately. The biggest problem is that it only spreads 3 buffs. It is first off, it's entirely possible for a buff that allies already have to be picked, and then they'll attempt to spread it, and then that buff is just wasted. So you'll need to be careful to play around buff stacking, or else you're just going to start wasting the buff spreads. And I don't know if you guys have tested this, but I'm not actually sure which buffs are picked exactly. I think it's like the first 3 in the that are displayed in the list.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I was gonna correct you about Summer Shiva, is that you really don't spread Ardor and Limit that well, because Summer Shiva has the fucking charm resistance on like phase starter when appearing or something, and that always gets priority since it's so, like early on, because it's like the oldest buff. So that's actually kind of why Summer Shiva can spread weapon change, is because his weapon changes when appearing, so it's one of the oldest buffs. So basically this 3 buff spread from Tuaring is going to primarily target like the oldest buffs that you have. So for buffs that you want to like look at and spread, you have to look at when appearing timings and phase start timings.
Isn't the charm resistance on to allies only?
Yeah, it's not the self, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay. Then there was something messing it up. Then I don't know.
It's not like,
because I
Ulan,
never really got the Ardor and Limit to spread, to be honest. I don't know why.
I wasn't actually sure myself. I only tested it once, and I was like, wait, this isn't spreading. Why isn't it spread? I went to go test something else afterwards, so I never went back and checked it.
It could just be like some other ally was messing it up. I might have been using him with like Ulan 5, and then the Nourishment and like Purification was spreading or something. I have no idea. But basically, it's kind of hard to spread stuff that happens on the after moving timing, just because you're bound to have like something else that's going to be spread from like Summer Sheep or like Summer Sheep.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I was actually just thinking...
That is the big problem. Now, go ahead.
So I guess like people who get their big damage from moving probably won't benefit from this too much.
I mean, they might. It really depends on if you can somehow prevent them from like getting like buffs from allies or something, or if they have a very low number of buffs.
Yeah, like the stuff that happens on the after moving could be spread. It's just that you have to watch out for stuff that you get from other people beforehand. Like if you're using Christmas Seed Tree, yeah, you're gonna be spreading Blessing, and you don't want that.
Don't bring
yeah. So Yeah, so this illustrates the problem with Tuaring. You really need to be careful who you bring. If you start bringing people with like pointless global buffs, like, or even something like Glint from the Kuleb AR, you're gonna start wasting slots on something useless. So honestly, it makes Tuaring a lot harder to play around and like maybe a bit more unfortunately big brain than people would hope for, because you know some of Shiva strats are preferably the epitome of brainless.
No brain.
Yes, but with Tuaring, you're going to have to play around it by not having people with global buffs, or at least not global buffs that are useless. Or actually, global buffs in general are bad because then you're spreading something that everyone else already has. So, yeah, it sucks, but it's still a powerful and interesting effect, and at the very least, Shiva will basically always spread his weapon change at all, so there's some funny stuff to do with that. At the minimum, anyway. But yeah, and yeah, the other thing is that this also only lasts for 3 turns. So yeah, after 3 turns, Tuaring's buff spread and crit falls off, and this leaves him as mostly an Otter bot. So for long-lasting quests, maybe don't bring Tuaring, because he's not going to be that useful after that. I didn't bother writing anything about his CS or ARs. But yeah, that's pretty much Tuaring in not so much a nutshell. He, for 3 turns, he's a powerful ally buff who can enable some pretty funny and cheesy strats, which unfortunately require a bit too much big brain to play around. But either way, they're fun to do, and at the minimum, you can use it for Shiva or range strats. Oz, step aside. I guess one of the problems is that you're using 2 team slots as opposed to just 1, because you have to bring Tuaring and then also his buff bot that you want to use. But yeah, I like the kit a lot. It's even if he didn't have like the other offensive stuff, although the crit and art is very nice, especially for this the grind quests. I'm glad that Tuaring is actually able to contribute to the grind quest meaningfully. But anyway, yeah, even if you didn't have that stuff, the prospect of spreading buffs to allies adjacent is fun to play around with.
There's definitely a lot of potential to grow from this, but right now the most obvious and strongest synergy is Shiva, and it's like, my problem with Tuaring is that it's a good meme, but if you're using Shiva, you're going to be killing everyone anyway, so it almost doesn't matter at all what you're doing on top of that for most intents and purposes. And you could like easily add more damage, I guess, but we were already able to do that without needing to spread Shiva's buffs. All the buffs that Shiva gives, I mean, he can't even spread all his amps, as we found out based on discussion of only sharing 3 buffs. So any additional amp you give to your allies with the all range, I mean, they're just going to be playing catch up to match Shiva's damage, which essentially you might as well just use another damage amp directly on Shiva to, increase that bigger damage more. So I feel like most of the utility with Shiva Tuaring is not going to be for damage, but for, I guess, other additional fun stuff like bind or like flat damage. I don't know. It's still in the works, but it's essentially without Shiva existing, like Tuaring's utility probably greatly falls off from there. And like, let's be real, most people... No. Most people probably don't have Shiva, so that's kind of like a big problem right there.
Support slot.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. It's time to pull out the secret meme of why the Summer Shiva strat can actually work. So the thing about Summer Shiva is that he's usually limited to 3 turns of all range. And the reason why I think this unit is interesting, or this pair is interesting, is that this can actually be extended, the all range, because one is that you don't have to move Shiva to give the all range on turn 1. You can wait until turn 3. So Shiva can actually make all range last longer past the first 3 turns, because you can, 1, try to delay giving all range to the rest of your team, and 2, you can also let Shiva CS, and then he'll get his other weapon change all, which is different from his first one appearing one, since his charge skill one is like 3 turns long or something. So you have a longer Summer Shiva. And then the other thing that you can do, I think you mentioned it, but kind of like glided over it, is that you can use Balor. And Balor 4 can actually refresh the weapon change all. So you get infinite weapon change, all range.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the prospect of giving buffs to buff refreshers. Yeah, I guess people like Fafnir or...
no, not Fafnir. Fafnir...
Oh right, he's immune.
Sucks.
What's it?
Krampus.
Yeah, in that case it would be limited to Krampus and Balor to have infinite... Yeah, that could be funny. But yeah, that's the fun of spreading weapon change all.
Yeah, so for me, who doesn't have Oscar, this will have to do. But yeah, I think this buff spread is kind of like categorically similar to what Fafnir could already do. The only exception is like, you know, the weapon change all due to Fafnir's immunity to the status. So I think regarding to this all range weapon change, if you're doing the Summer Shiva strat, then you're gonna have to look into, you know, exploiting that weapon change all and doing stuff like bind and skill lock, like Ara mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of potential. Don't get me wrong, but it's like, it's like
I don't really see the benefit of.
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't really see the benefit of extending the weapon change all beyond the 3rd turn, because beyond the 3rd turn you already lose Tuaring spread for everyone. So it's kind of like,
well,
your damage is already lower by that point.
It's Balor 4, so he has a godload of attack buffs already. Yeah.
I guess, yeah. Crit is...
The only unfortunate thing is that quests that last longer than 3 phases don't exist anymore. So, there we go.
As a
that too, yes.
We just had Mystic Christmas CQ3. That one was good, right? I mean, it was, but...
I mean, you don't need
I
it
just
only
think
for
that-
phase 4. What the heck?
I just think that for phase 4, losing the crit pretty much means that Tuaring is practically not doing anything there anymore.
I mean, that's fine. There are units that are designed
Exactly.
strictly just for, you know, doing mid damage or, you know, being perfect for coin scuffles, but nothing else, like Kurugani. And then there are units like Tuaring that, you know, obviously is dead weight after turn 3, so very catered towards free quests. So it's nice that we have like some explicit design going on here for specific quests. They're not supposed to be
I
great
do
for
think
them,
it would be funny. I do think it would be funny to give all range to Mugen Tangaroa. That would be very funny, in my opinion.
Okay.
To stack
To be
the
honest-
attack buffs with his debuffs and the debuff amps that he has. That would be funny.
Well,
To be honest, I'm more so just... I'm glad that we got a phase start crit buffer after getting another fucking Tsukuyomi dupe, though. I'm not like really that crazy for the 3 buff spread. I'm more so just that have something better than that stupid dude. Because it's like crit that only happens left and right or something. Ridiculous.
Yeah, Tsukuyomi. Shit.
yeah, don't use Tsukuyomi. He was like good for his time, which was like not even that good, but it was just like the situation was just that shit back then. So there's like no reason to be using Tsukuyomi nowadays when we're gonna have tons of other better comp players, which we'll be talking about soon.
What if he gets an Evo?
I mean, I'm still waiting
No.
for my skill
Struggling to
seedling, so I'd be
do
happy with
points
that.
shuffle in like 2019 or something. Jesus. Yeah.
It was relevant.
You will get
for
a skill
while.
evolution in the next GF. There
Like,
you go.
no one was fucking farming free quests in the beginning because it's like there weren't even seed quests back then, and the first 2 seed quests were utter trash without any boosters with like tier 1s and 2s. So it only became like superior free quests over dailies maybe over the past 2 or 3 years.
I just looked at
What's up?
Tsukiyomi's kit and it's comical how compact it is. Like one line for each skill.
Oh yeah.
It's
They're
really
cooking.
funny.
What? Wasn't he like rabbit themed? Why didn't he get like a Skivo in New Year's earlier? Whatever.
An Evo?
I don't care. Tsukiyomi. I thought he was like rabbit themed somehow because he was like the moon.
I
and
heard
stuff.
about that, but then I always got corrected that Tsukiyomi's not rabbit themed, so I don't know, but he did not receive an Evo.
Yeah. Okay.
Who
Well,
cares?
he's
It's Tsukiyomi. No one cares. That's
I
fine.
seeded
Yeah.
him! LifeWonders, please, give him an Evo! Okay, if we're done talking about the scene,
not- So you seeded him, but not Horus.
who did I not seed?
Interesting. Horus.
I mean, I was
Didn't still
halfway
seed
through
him,
him. The
right?
only reason why I seeded him was because he was technically optimal for dungeons for the Ikebukuro one, but that was like huge cope because it was optimal only on support. So it was just like me being charitable until I stopped being charitable, and then I just switched away from him. But
Sad.
I'll be happy to seed him this time if he does come by. It'll still just be for challenges though, so I might delay something else, but it's definitely higher priority. If talking soon, I don't even have him. I haven't even pulled yet, so. Okay, are we done with this character, Tuaring?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
Thank you.
We're
I
going
need
to
to
read
read
the chat.
the comments.
Yeah.
Where were we?
Don't know. Oh yeah, it was Harvey.
Oh,
being-
I thought Milk was Harvey
emoji.
for a sec. Catbox emoji. You two sounded like Can You Blame Me? Kind of, because I think their voices are easy enough to differentiate, but that's
So
for
we're always talking with them, but like you can't
Well,
deny
true.
both me and Irby were like unable to distinguish them for the first few discussions. I don't know about you, but yeah.
Yeah, but now,
Well,
now I can recognize
I mean,
it.
I could mostly because their cadence is pretty different, but
Right. Master perfect pitch man here, apparently.
yes.
I still don't hear it, but it's whatever. I'm me, so I don't have the problem.
I am me.
Uh,
no
You're
one
you,
else.
nobody else.
God,
Irby,
Both
same
said it.
brain. No. Forget the hard
Uh,
mind, join
pretty-
the Irby hard mind.
pretty boy Turing come home. The best part about Turing is his festival Enigma mask. Oh yeah, right. Irby, I remember. Was it you who we were talking about who was in the next banner, and then you were like, "Oh no, Turing means that there might be Enigma." I forget if it was you who said that.
I don't think it was me.
Oh,
It's probably Harvey. No one else gives a shit about the negative that bad except for Milk or Harvey, and especially Harvey. Did you say that, Milk?
it might also be Harvey.
It wasn't
I
me
think
for
it's
sure.
next time.
That is truly a horror. I can't believe we're getting Enigma content. I did get Turing, but I wish he wasn't a 3-turn wonder. I had enough of that from Gulen. Well, I mean, for those 3 turns, he's pretty hot. The weapon spread all... the weapon change all spread is fun. Enigma, the most OP unit. Yeah, we're totally getting an Enigma ult next year. Thank God, I hope not. They gave this cunt the air voice line on fucking skill activation. God is truly dead. Yes, I've noticed that the Turing and Ulan skill or grind quests, they both make really weird noises, and they make a lot of them.
Honestly, I
definitely
feel like
something.
I feel like that voice line perfectly encapsulates Turing because he's like acting cute. I'm giving presents to everyone, and then meanwhile, main quest he literally tries to kill all of Tokyo. So, perfectly in character for being Murasaki, except in Tokyo Afterschool Stoners. Fucking Genshin
He
Impact.
just
Looking ass.
giggling while covering his mouth. I love it. I need him. Can we... Wait, I'm not going there. Raised eyebrow emoji, bro. Sorry. Well, Tuaring still allows Summer Shiva to be used with debuffers, so there's another category he covers. Yeah. You can bring Tuaring to Long Quest, just make sure he dies on the 3rd turn. Heart emoji. Yes, that is a strat you could do. You could always just dump him like, I don't want to play with you anymore. I just did more research. Who would do that to a person? Many people, unfortunately. People would have Shiva if they bought the 5-star ticket, Jay. He wasn't on that, was he? Was he?
Shiva? Yeah.
Summer Shiva?
Yeah, he was. Did you not see the review? Okay. Evidently you didn't see the review, I did.
Oh, yeah, right. I guess you could have bought Summer Shiva. Oh, yeah, you were talking about it.
I also got him because I was farming, which apparently you didn't see that either.
Correct. Hey there. Hello, Klein. I care about the moon. Oh, right, the moon.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a reference to the main story or not.
It's just Tsukiyomi, I think. I don't know.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
Tsukiyomi. Half milk. None of voices sound the same, though. I like Enigma Polar Bear, but the wrong coloured emoji.
He is not a bear.
Oh my god.
He
does look like a panther, but...
Is it Dorito or something?
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, but if you look at polar bears nowadays, they're actually quite malnourished because of climate change and that destroying their hunting territories. So, if anything, Enigma is more accurate than the saying. Anyway.
I don't know.
Yeah, but Leif's cute.
Still not.
It's a VR bear.
I'm telling you, polar bears are actually endangered now. They're not a common species, they're endangered. That's how bad it is. Everyone needs to be aware of this. Milk and Harvey are about to die.
I think everybody is aware that polar bears are endangered. They just know that they aren't Dorito shaped.
Well, maybe that'll be
They
their
should be
next
shaped
adaptation.
like Ice Bear.
Well, then we'll just have to stop global warming if we want that to happen. Anywho, we are done talking about Tuaring, so we are finally going to be talking about the 5 stars, which are going to be so much better, right? We'll be starting off with Ulaanbaatar. Rest in peace, Harvey guys. This is going to be covered by Milk Housamo to spiritually cover Harvey's tracks. Go ahead.
Oh shoot, I have to talk about this dude.
Yes.
Okay, let's see. What is he? What does he do? Okay, so we have Ulan 5, and first and foremost, he has no guild. And the next thing is that overall, he's an ether shot unit, who I think is a little average or middling. So his first skill, he applies strain to people who hit him at an 80% rate. That's whatever. After hitting, he applies anchor to himself and allies 1 square away from him at an 80% rate. So that's great again. He heals 300 HP to self and allies in turn start at 90% rate, and he has this weird phase start debuff that applies to himself and every enemy on the board at 100% rate, which is a non-buff weakening with a 1.5 times multiplier. So this is basically a global damage amplifier for your team. So that's nice. His second skill, he's immune to possession, that's whatever. He gets spirit on phase start at a guaranteed rate. That's great. And he has this after debuff effect of applying nourishment to allies 1 square away from him. Not himself, just the allies. And he also applies purification. Now this one's to himself and allies directly adjacent at 90% rate. So this after debuff effect, if you've noticed in the farming, activates because of the phase start debuff that he applied to himself in the skill 1. So if you're seeing this nourishment purification, the reason why that's showing up is because he applied the non-buff weakening to himself. So that's why that skill's a little weird. He also has the sort of Beach Volos Kirito 1.5 times damage to every removable debuff. So that's kind of nice. In his third skill, he applies burn resistance to everybody. Okay, this might be the thing that was screwing me up, because this thing was like messing things up in Tuaring. So this applies to everybody to himself and allies on the board at 100% rate. It's whatever, it's burn resistance. After moving, he applies break to enemies in shot range at 90%. It's such a weird thing to have after moving because he doesn't seem to move after in any other part of this kit. He has some buff removal functionality. First, he can apply nullify buff to hit enemies, 90% rate, and he can remove buffs from the enemies left and right of the enemy he hits at a 70% rate. So there's some functionality for buff prevention and removal there. And in his fourth skill, he gets the skill rate, activation rate increase, and damage boost with concentration phase start. That's guaranteed, so that's nice. And he has 3 after buff skills, which is why he keeps spamming this douche line in the farming. For first, he applies arousal to himself at a 90% rate. This is guaranteed with the concentration, so that's another after buff. He has this CP after buff. It's 8 CP, but it's at a really awful rate of 40%. And he gives protection to himself and allies in a 2 square diamond radius away from himself at a 50% rate. And lastly, he has the CS, which removes all buffs from the people he hits, applies nullify buff like before, and to the enemies left and right. Actually, it's kind of switched, right? Because in his original kit, he applied nullify buff, but this one he's like applying nullify buff to the enemies adjacent, like left and right. He applies CS lock to the hit units. That's kind of a throwback to, I don't know. And then he applies Brawn to himself. So there you go. So he looks basically like a shot range damage dealer with a bunch of buff prevention and debuff prevention functionality with a bit of defense mixed in with the protection. And for that reason, he's kind of middling in the damage department. Because I ran the calculations for his damage, and without break, he was doing around 9.4k damage. So
that actually,
I compared it to.
That actually rounds up to 10k with Spirit, just so you know. But it's there.
Yeah, I'm not gonna count Spirit. Yeah. I compared it to Christmas Fushi because, you know, it's a Christmas ether shot unit last year. And Christmas Fushi, if you don't move him, you know, you just keep him at 100% HP. Christmas Fushi did 27k damage per square. So I don't really like the fact that there's this 3 times damage reduction, you know, compared from 1 year ago. So there you go. This does kind of ignore the, you know, a bunch of stuff that Christmas Ulan is doing, but I feel like 9k, 10k, whatever, in 2023 is pretty low for a shot unit. If you do move him though, this gets buffed to 33k. It was like 32.4, but we're including Spirit for some reason. So it's 33k damage per square. Then that's more respectable, but I don't really think you really want to move Xmas Ulan, like, necessarily, for just break in shot range. So there you go. Okay, so what do I think about how you should use this unit? I think he's kind of like an all-rounder unit where you kind of like just bring him to, and he does a bunch of stuff. I kind of regret to compare him to this person, but he kind of reminds me of like Valentine Shinya, who was like,
Ouch.
just did a bunch of stuff, and it was like, like buff removal and burn and conflagration. It was kind of random. I do think that what you want to use Xmas Ulan is kind of like try to scrape more damage from the debuff advantage. So the fact that he does like 1.5 times damage to every debuff means that I think if you wanted to like realistically use Xmas Ulan, you would be trying to like scrape some free damage from this debuff advantage. So maybe it's like some dumb Yugen Tango team, like whatever that Hogan Stan does. The problem with that, I think, is that this purification might mess things up. And also, what is it? The first person that came to mind was like Sandayu, due to like him being rate up 2, and he applies like weakness in the 3x3 square. So that nourishment messes things up for Sandayu. So yeah, I don't know. Aside from that, I think Xmas Ulan does have some good functionality for just from like the fact that you can get that nourishment and what is it? The not nourishment, but the phase start non-buff weakening. And with that nourishment, that's like a free buff, but like it's still just whatever. I'm not really enamored with this kit. He's kind of doing too little damage for me. And overall, it is a little boring when it's just a shot unit who has a shot CS. So yeah, there you go. AR recommendations. I didn't really care to look at it, but the event AR that, the Ganglie Ulan AR is pretty good so that he can get more of his burst damage from the after buff CP. Because it does happen. It stacks up with the arousal. And he can get like, some like occasional burst shot CS, but you have to gamble with a 40% rate. And I don't really like that.
Okay. Thank you, Moke. Did anyone want to add on first, or should I go?
You should go.
Sorry, guys.
You are free to go.
You guys suck. Whatever. So, Ulaanbaatar. That was kind of exactly what I was thinking after I prepared my notes for him, based on what Moke said. I feel like he's a column clear, but for a column clear, he does some of the most disappointing damage, especially given he's a 5-star at like just breaking 10,000 with Spirit for some reason. That's like, only useful for coin scuffles. That's not enough for requests at all. Like, I'm pretty sure there's like a bunch of 4-star column clears that can do more than him at that point too without moving. Like, what? It's surprisingly disappointing for farming, but I guess the way you can look at him is a unit that's actually not meant for farming. Which, you want even bigger damage for challenges, but I guess the other utility justifies his existence. Being able to minimize your disadvantage state is probably what I would pin him at being best at. Because being able to both deny buffs from the enemy as well as mitigate debuffs on your side can be pretty potent overall. He doesn't really do too much, to bring the advantage to your side by giving too much amp. Just nourishment and that advantage. Non-buff strengthening, that one. So it's very minimal. It's there, but it's okay. So the main thing I'd say is if there's like just too many debuffs happening and and if the enemy has too many buffs, Ulaanbaatar might be a good neutralizing effect. I guess in that sense, it's kind of like Akia Gongen. At least the way his lore was written was he like extinguishes the, passions of the enemy. And in this case, Ulaanbaatar is also extinguishing any sort of disadvantage to the state. You're gonna need to bring some additional amp and debuffs against the enemy if you want to make the most of it. And I feel that's another place you can take advantage of Ulaanbaatar, because he is one of the few units that has advantage against every removable debuff. You probably just want to use someone like Kirito instead for that, but he's short range in very least, and you don't have to move him like Alice. And you can stack with Alice if you want to, so it's there if for potential. And like sorry, what?
Oh, I just was gonna say that I forgot that you can use him with Kirito and he gets like, the free 1.5 with the dazzle advantage and stuff.
Wow. Another 1.5. Well, with the dazzle weakening, I guess it adds up. So they'd be an okay pair, you know, just as long as your entire team has debuff advantage, then you can work out in that way too. He has like these two quirks which are not super relevant right now, but I'm honestly seeing, maybe prematurely I'm seeing it, but I am seeing some growth and potential to relevancy for both a quick charge as well as what's it called, debuff stacking and debuff advantages. As we saw from that one Quantum video where they were able to one-shot this Kali Boka. It seems that debuff stacking might be becoming more relevant in the future. We'll see, and Ulaanbaatar can exploit that quite well. And, his own quick charge, it's somewhat shaky, but with everything else, you might actually like using him. Probably not as much buffs as I'd like on him though, but maybe he gives a good amount, like the 8 or something? I just don't like.
Yeah, it's actually like no, I thought it was like 6. Let me just count them right now. But basically, he I forgot to mention this, or don't really care about mentioning it, but he has a lot of junk buffs, like Anchor, Spirit, Purification, Burn Resistance, Concentration, Arousal, Protection. What was that? That was 6, right?
I like the way you described those junk buffs, the 3 apps.
No, it's actually like, I feel like it's actually kind of intentional on LifeWonders' part, because when you look at like after buff people, right, you want short lasting buffs that you don't really care about for the most part, since you're gonna get Ardor or, maybe Limit or Tenacity somewhere else, right? So the fact that he has like garbage like Anchor and Spirit, it doesn't. That's kind of like what you really want for after buff people. Arousal obviously is really good for them, and Protection as well.
I do feel like they undertuned the rate and the amount of CP he gets though.
Yeah, that's way too low.
Yeah, considering it's like, doesn't Loki give himself
for
like
reference
20 every buff or some shit like that? And
is Loki really 20? Okay, I don't remember. But basically, like, even if you go back really far, it's like Christmas Choji was like 10 at 90% rate.
Yeah.
Why are we getting 8 at 40% rate? It's like,
I think it's funny that we just had a unit who gives CP to allies and himself.
Like, with
Masashi. Yeah, and he has 50% rate, so I don't know why that rate is, and base rate, or base CP rate and proc rate are so, like, awful. It's bad.
They definitely adjusted this to be based off of the amount of native buffs he gives, so it's like, at that point, what's the point of having all these, junk buffs as put in it if they're just gonna adjust it so it fails more than it succeeds? It's very...
Masashi has a lot of buffs too.
Well, Masashi...
I guess he has concentration. I guess he has, like, concentration, so the rate's a little better, but I used him with Smoky God, and it was like, why am I doing this? Why am I using, like, Smoky God just to get a faster CS? Just, like,
I mean, he's not a unit that's designed to have his charge every turn. It's clear he's designed to have, like, coming up occasionally every few turns. I mean, even then, that's being generous since the shaky rate. But,
I think 1 in every 3 is definitely possible, but it gives me like Xmas Yasuyori vibes. And I kind of feel like maybe like LifeWonders just like extremely overrates that kind of stuff, considering they didn't give Christmas Yasuyori a Skivo, so that's the only explanation that I can think of for like why this after buff CP is like so garbage. Oh wait, I actually have the second one. The second one is to just pull for that stupid AR to get another after buff CP.
That's also at a shit rate.
Yeah, so that's
I mean,
also
it's 50%
why,
base.
Oh, it's surprisingly a higher rate, or the same rate, really, with concentration.
It's only like 2,
but yeah,
4 CP only though. It's like 2% on average.
Yeah. Yep. So,
Well,
I don't really get it, but it's what's happening.
I think he's a pretty shitty unit. he's not completely shitty, but very underwhelming. I'm not really seeing what was the idea behind this kit, really. It's not even just the shitty rates, but it feels like he has little of everything.
I wouldn't even say everything. He's actually lacking
this
a lot.
does not look like a 5-star kit at all.
You know whose
Maybe.
kit does look like a 5-star
we
kit
got it,
and
but
has a
we
bit
got
of everything?
We got it. I really do think this banner is ironically worth pulling because of how good the 4 stars are. Even if the 5 stars are shit, it's kind of funny.
I find it comical how low Ulaanbaatar's attack stat is also when he's part of him is supposed to be attacking and doing
Also,
okay
no
damage.
guild.
Yes, guildless.
And also, you have to move
No
for one of his
worries, I know
amps. It's so bizarre.
Yeah, he's pretty mediocre for a 5-star. He should have really been swapped, but I mean, he's hot, I guess. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh,
It's not like the worst thing ever. Like, I tried him out in practice, and you know he does his stuff, and you know he can get good damage. It's just that there's some really questionable design decisions. I think that I don't really know why LifeWonders is doing it. Maybe the reason why I'm so hesitant is because of that stupid Hogan stan, who's like just gonna show off some Ulaanbaatar does like 2 billion damage later.
No.
Do we have any
She's
other...
going to use Halloween Alice with him.
Who are the units who have advantage
No.
against all debuffs? Like, I'm just trying to think.
You know, like Beach Volos, Kirito. That's the main two, because you know that as well as in the
I see.
update page.
I mean,
There's
Ulaanbaatar's
Halloween
the-
Alice, yeah.
Ulaanbaatar is the first one in the shot range then, so if you need advantage against all the way in the back, I guess Ulaanbaatar has that over everyone else. Yeah, we're really scraping at the bottom of the barrel here, so it's not great.
So that's why I said the only thing I can think of is, you know, you use them with some people who are going to bring that debuff for damage amplification to, you know, sort of scrape for that damage. But even with the Christmas Fushi comparison, it's like, did that really justify a 3 times damage reduction? I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, this has the potential to be really strong if we, you know, suddenly LifeWonders decides to release debuff units for the entire board for the next year. But I really don't see that happening since they're pretty restrictive with giving debuffs on all enemies. Like, even with
It's
Pandora
like
Negan, in the
only
best case, it's
Tangaroa.
a lower rate,
Yeah.
right?
Well, you can kind of almost fix them, but
You can fix
yeah,
them.
it's on the back row. It's going to be like 70% or something if you try your best. So yeah, not looking very good.
Okay, I think we have nothing else to say about this unit because it's kind of like a comp pair that is barely clearing their column, and they do other stuff for challenges that's okay, I guess, but like even then, not really. We can read the chat. Go ahead and do that, Milk.
Oh,
Start off with Enigma Polar
Are we
Bear.
on Activate Polar Bear? Actually, polar bears are starting to breed with grizzly bears in the wild, so they'll survive in a way. Still sad.
They're not even polar bears, they'll be like grizzly bears or polar bears.
Yeah, grizzly bears, I don't think can like breed.
I don't think they're mules, are they? I'm pretty sure they can breed, but I don't know. I haven't heard otherwise. They're like, you know, what's the term? Infertile.
Yeah. Oh. Also, the big problem with polar bear stuff is like something else, but I won't go into it. Everybody look, he's got no guild. LMAO. He applies anchor to validate the welfare AR. Guildless behavior. I like Otter, but I'll wait for Ganglie. Oh, is that... oh, Shiva was here. Okay, never mind. I guess I just ignored it. Bon Donku. Holy Knight Gangstar was just crazy in terms of unit quality. Everyone was good in it.
Yeah, where is it, LifeWonders? Where's the Gangstar reprint? I'm so fucking angry right now.
Gazer Beyond. That's true for real. One of the best banners. Palette Swap Akiha. That's a little gross. I think you should take that back. Kinda amazing that Ulan has 2 5-stars and both are underwhelming. LW, just because the character is lazy, it doesn't mean the kit has to be too. Yeah. It's okay, he makes up for it by being sexy. Less than 3. On that I won't disagree, that butt hair did wonders to me. Oh, why am I reading this? I agree wholeheartedly. Ooh, what's the BGM called? I don't recognize it. Unfortunately, I don't remember when this was asked, so...
Yeah, you can just scroll back to when you did ask that, and the... what's called the song scrolly is appearing below the chat on screen, so just read that there.
I'm going to assume that it's like the anniversary Soriano thing. Peach emoji, glad emoji. I would have his kids, but Ganglie is here, so that already taken care of. Neo emoji, sorry, pensive emoji. Serene Chaos remix by Ara. Okay, there you go. Oh, I see. It sounded amazing.
Yeah.
I was actually looking to see if it was ever released as a video. Show says, that's it.
That's pretty much all he can say, just like on stream. Yeah, that's it. Never forget the jokeling. Anyways, thank you for covering that, Milk. So, for those who weren't paying attention, I haven't actually spoken yet for my own part, so I'm going to do that with the final topic, which is going to be Ganglie-sama. I said in the most anglicized accent ever. Alright, right. Where are my notes from? There they are. So we're going to be talking about this fat porker. Let us start off, not necessarily with the most important parts, but rather the parts that need to be spoken about first to understand the rest. So, the first part of the skit I'd like to talk about is he has a slightly inconsistent wave of a skill activation rate up. And what this means is he has glint that is activated every 2 turns to keep his rates boosted. The problem with this is that the glint itself is also not guaranteed or guaranteeable at 80% unless you're doing like guild affiliations, which I know you won't. So it's like even when you fully skill seed him, that glint can still fail, and then a bunch of other things still has a chance at failing. So it's very confusing. But I will talk more about my thoughts on what LifeWonders may have been going for later with that. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the first piece of meat of this content. Just like Akiha Gongen, another 5-star has a column clear and an amp. Except this time he actually does have better amp and better column clearing. So first off the bat, he does have a selfish damage that is originating from his immobility strengthening, which gives him a 2 times damage increase when he has immobility. This is applied to both himself and all allies. But with regards to himself, he receives it on phase start and can refresh it on charge, which he can decently build fast just because immobility itself gives CP every turn, 12 I believe every turn, which lasts for 3 turns. He gets an additional damage jam source from Spirit Strengthening, both to allies and to self on arrival. and whoever has Spirit can now deal 1.5 times damage. And he can bestow Spirit to self and allies encircling him every turn start. The issue with this is even though this is his most minor amp, it's also the amp that is not guaranteeable, even with skill seeding, because it's at 80%, and even if you get the glint going at 90%, then that might fail, and then this might fail. Essentially, the Spirit strengthening will never be guaranteed, which is big clown moment. And lastly, he does have some additional amp if you do manage to get his decently building charge up. He has the ability to refresh immobility, as I said, to activate that immobility strengthening. And he also has a crit plus, so both together can deal some nice damage. So that's just for his selfish sources. Talking about the shared sources of his amp, he bestows a buff to enemies he attacks, Rage. However, this buff is actually it is a double-edged blade, because it both increases the damage they inflict by 2.5 times, but also increases the damage they receive by 2.5 times. So essentially, it's just because he's bestowing it at the same time he's attacking them, he's dealing additional damage towards the enemies. And this extra damage he can mitigate immediately by also simultaneously inflicting buff reversal. So buff reversal is this status, which I'm not sure if I have to explain, but I'll go over quickly. It's a conditional status where if the enemy has any sort of buff, which is in this case going to be activated by Rage, then they will have reduced damage, and specifically have their damage quartered, so that will more than enough completely cancel out, and even then some to stop the Rage damage increase. And it will also increase the damage they take by 2.5 times, so exactly like Rage. So that's like 2.5 times twice there. Quite nice. And always they're guaranteed out of the box. So at least that's something you don't have to worry about with the wave of activation rate boosts. Again, as I said, part of the shared amp is the Spirit, but there also is the shared of immobility, which is a bit conditional for you to really use for the most. I'll talk about it more later as we talk about a different aspect of this kit. But essentially, he can give immobility to his allies left and right after he moves. So, next off is his ally-only amp. He only has, what's it called? Ardor to allies on his charge. So, you don't really need to remember that, but that is, like, bizarrely not on himself. So, a bit of extra damage just for his team. Or his charge that builds occasionally quick, just from immobility. So, running the numbers, his regular attack without Spirit is going to be 18,000 damage per square. So that's with immobility strengthening and buff reversal and rage, but without Spirit strengthening. And that is like already blowing out a shot range Ulaanbaatar out of the park, which is incredibly sad. But yeah, I would say that Ganglie straight up is just a better comp here, just because of that factor, even though he can't move because of his immobility on arrival, or on face start rather. So it's it's quite good damage at 18,000. More likely though, I know I said it's slightly inconsistent, but it really is just like the Spirit will more likely come to naught at a 1.5 disadvantage. Though he'll be dealing slightly under 30,000 damage when he does get Spirit. For his charge, with immobility strengthening and crit plus, he is doing 29,000 damage per square, so, kind of like around the same as if he does have Spirit strengthening. Now, if he does have Spirit strengthening, and for whatever reason the enemy's still alive and they have buff reversal and rage on them still, and you get the crit plus and immobility strengthening going, then he will be doing whopping boss killing 270,000 damage per square at sniper rage. So that's quite impressive. You will need to have the stars aligned for him to have buff reversal on and rage up from the previous turn, though, presuming he doesn't kill them immediately. So, now I'd like to talk about an aspect of his kit that is a bit different. Sorry, I read something that made me think something was wrong with the stream, but never mind. So the second part of his kit is actually his emergency measures. So what do I mean by emergency measures? Well, Harvey Kais would like to call this as skirmishing, but I like to call it as emergency measures because I feel like that's more apt to describe what he does based on the rest of how his column clearing is supposed to function. So I'll first talk about just the general emergency measures. He has mitigation. He has Guts on Arrival and Guts Uncharged, which is refreshed. And again, you can build that charged fatal kick with mobility. And he is also able to deny the enemy's charge with CP reduction every time he attacks, which is guaranteeable. The Nullify debuff on self and allies adjacent every time he attacks is nice, but that's not guaranteeable. So emergency measures are not really reliable, but they're there and they're nice to have. Same thing for Unction, a nice damage mitigation and heal per turn, or hot, to allies and self every time he attacks. So yeah, you'll be using this if he doesn't clear his column if he doesn't do enough damage. He does a bit of healing too, as I said, from the Unction, and also 300 HP to self every time he attacks someone. Not guaranteed, neither are. And he also has increased recovery to allies that are around him every phase start, which can help out with boosting the Unction that he gives to his allies. Because it does affect both heal effects as well as hot effects. So the last part I'd like to talk about is emergency measures, is actually why they're called emergency measures in the first place. So yeah, they're defensive, but they're also emergency measures in the sense that if a Ganglie fails to clear, which is built into his kit that he has unreliable damage that can't be guaranteed because of that wave of glint, then he might have to survive a few more turns and kill the enemy off. He still can't move with his immobility up, but once the immobility exhausts, then he can finally use immobility or bestow immobility to allies. So that's what I mean. It's exactly like Arsalan or Akiha Gangen in the sense that they are designed to have their peak damage in the beginning, and then when it runs out, because Ganglie's damage will fall off without his own immobility, then he can start doing some bonus stuff that can maybe salvage the team at a less reliable rate. In this case, Ganglie is not really doing it less reliably, but more so he just has that unreliability built in throughout his kit. And after he is free from immobility, he'll do less damage, but then he can boost the damage more from his allies through bestowing immobility left and right. He also bestows regeneration to allies every time he moves at a guaranteed period, which is nice. But again, both that bestowal of immobility and regeneration is going to be very rare unless you're failing to clear, which, as a matter of fact, is built into this kit, which is definitely a design choice. So his peak damage is slightly inconsistent for farming, but no matter what it is, whether it's at his low end of his damage or at his high end of his damage, he is going to be able to do enough damage to clear coin scuffles. Sorry to bring it up, Milk, but some people still do that. Besides that, he is still easily able to guarantee over 20,000 damage with just a bit of stat seeding and maybe even level seeding. 20,000 is pretty solid to have as guaranteed damage in comparison to Ulaanbaatar, which is just like barely breaking 10. But yeah. So talking about that emergency measure column clear paradigm again, we have Akiha Gangen from his Akiba and Dragons variant, and also Marine Arsalan. Yeah, so they've got that inconsistency built in, and they've got strong damage, but there's a fail-safe built in cases of failures. In Akiha Gangen's case, it was that burn strengthening after he gets his charge up, so that he'll be like more defensive or have more healing or some shit like that. For Arsalan's case, after his period of crit on the first two turns of each phase ran out, he was able to bestow crit to himself at a much lower rate, as well as bestow concentration to his allies a wave. And in this case, Ganglie, after his immobility runs out, he loses his damage, but then he's able to bestow damage to allies, while also denying them the ability to move, which it might be a bit risky in that sense. So, I feel like I was racking my brain of why would LifeWonders design 3 snipe units like this that are all 5 stars? Is it really that good? I do think it can be strong for challenges, but slightly suboptimal for farming in general. But I think the point of it that LifeWonders may have been masterminding in the head was people who don't know how to team build. Essentially, if you aren't like concocting the perfect guaranteed teams and you don't really care about doing that, or you're not into the game that much to be even care to do that in the first place, then bringing units like Ganglie or Akia or Arslan are a good way to kind of turn off your brain and plug it in play, and they'll do big damage most of the time, and you won't really notice if they fail to clear because they'll be surviving and killing the enemy enemies. So I feel like that is what they're going for with this. Not as a unit that can be perfect for farming, but rather as a unit that's good for, just plugging in and playing as a calm player. But yeah, those are my overall thoughts on this unit. Just a nice definitive signal that, yes, there are so many column players now that we are starting to get subcategories of column players. This one not being my favorite category, but it definitely exists. So you guys can add on now.
I think it's funny that he applies rage, because we almost never see rage in general. But yeah, that is a unique combo together with rage and buff reversal at least. But anyway, yeah, he's a column clearer. There's not really much to say about that, obviously. I guess the immobility thing is kind of unique, as well as the spirit. Actually making spirit useful for once. But I mean, yeah, the kit is just not very interesting. I mean, he does well at what he does. He column clears decently enough, but it's kind of disappointing that his kit is not very interesting.
Is it time for the McCroic rage spread tactics?
To steal rage back.
Huh?
Since he can
That would be
steal
funny.
buffs and give it, but then you're also taking away the activating part of buff reversal, so I don't know if you want to do that.
That would be funny though. Yeah, I think he's the most boring unit of this batch, because at least the bad ones were funny because they were bad. This is definitely the unit of all time, the column clearer.
He's definitely a better comp
I don't
player
have
than
any
Ulaanbaatar,
problem.
but you're right. The sin of being a comp player
Yes.
usually is, if you're good, you're usually boring.
Yeah. He's just another one for the pile, and that's it.
Yeah. I think the one thing that I like about him is that all of his damage comes from like stupid dumb stuff like immobility, rage, and buff reversal. So you can like easily use them with other buffers like Summer Labe. I think the same thing goes for Ulan too, but yeah. Well, actually, Ulan has concentration. That's a little bit more common. But yeah. I don't really think much about the unit. I think his art is okay, though.
I was
Little
actually not a big fan of this art,
underwhelming.
because I heard Ganglie was coming out a bit early, and I was excited for it. And I absolutely love his 5-star AR art with Ulaanbaatar. Looks like straight up sucks, and I hope for it. But of course, that's the only one I didn't get. It's okay, I didn't spend too much tickets anyways. But I feel like there's like a lack of shading in this one. I don't know. It doesn't look.
Yeah, I was comparing it to Christmas Yasubiori, and I feel like Jiro kind of phoned it in, having to do Masashi back to back, so
That's a good
maybe
point.
that might have been the reason.
But yeah, I feel like the shading is not really that great here. The lighting is kind of bland, and the posing is sort of whatever. I mean, it's a good angle, but I feel like the actual execution of it isn't too great. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of slightly disappointed by Ganglie, which is for the better because I like him a lot, so I will feel less obligated to pull for him, and I can say for drawing, I guess.
Yeah, overall, I don't really find the unit too interesting. I do like it that he's netter compared to like Summer Arson, who's like fucking valiant of all things for an offensive element. But yeah, not really much to add.
Yeah, if you're wondering why I always given my evaluations, some sort of sly or bemoaning about comp players, this is it. It's like, that's it? There has to be more, right? Maybe one day we'll find some sort of hyper synergy that we missed with this, but it's really hard to find when they keep on releasing kits like this for Ganglie and Akiha and Arsalan.
He's good because he's another unit for Irby to put into the ultimate auto team.
No.
Yeah,
Yes,
the Loki.
finally can use him with Loki.
No.
Except I don't have either of them, so that's a shame.
You can have a support who's immobile. There you go.
Fine, I'll use the 3-star Loki since I actually attack seeded him, so should be fine. Let's go.
Use Festival Fumi.
I don't have him either.
Use.
Chernobog.
Oh wait, Kotobo Pass isn't immobile.
I don't have Sharonbog either. I only have Kotobo Pass that can move.
I don't think
That's
he has
M Loki 3.
immobility though. It's just natural though.
Yeah,
It's not worth it.
Staj.
Not worth it. Okay, I think we're done here. I'm gonna read chat. Alright. You're actually looking for... you were with that. What was that, Ara? Speak up. Everyone should watch the Jopening. Straight in the Marine banner, Joe's one and only appearance on Discussion. It's so fantastic what he contributed to chat. So fantastic, in fact, that we actually have a clip from it that I should share with you guys at some point. So if that wasn't clear, hopefully that was clear enough for you, Joe. Is that you worshipping bacon? Same though. Yes, you saved the best for last. I did save the best for last in terms of most baity, but definitely, you know, not necessarily the best. I don't think it's the worst. I'd say that goes to Ulaanbaatar. At least among the units. Actually, never mind. Otter exists. Why won't you appear in your polls? It's because the desired sensor is real. I know it too well. First Lave, now Ganglie. Well, they did it better, but okay. The implication of granting ability to allies after he moves. See, I feel like it would be funnier if he gave it immediately on like Paystar or something to make an actual true auto team, but having to like wait for his own to exhaust and giving it to allies is just Arsalan or Akia, you know what I mean. This is truly not your year. Your year turned out quite well in the end. Still waiting for my comeback. Ribs. Most people risk it. No brain gaming. Pork chops. And so emergency measures for players that don't want to think. Well, now tenderloins. LifeWonders is finally noticing most players only play for the cuties. Yeah, in the very least, this unit is perfectly targeted towards the kind of player that would like them. So, yeah, they're boring, but people who are chasing after Ganglie for this 5-star probably don't care about that at this point. Shocker. Sausage. Don't forget that we're most likely getting Valentine Masanori, so Jero was probably busy. People want to say that these guys are busy, but like, let's be real. It doesn't take several months to prepare an illustration, right? Maybe it takes 3 days at best, and even then that's being generous, jeez. These are making me hungry.
Spoken like a true non-artist.
Okay.
Alright, they need to review it to see if it fits.
Well,
Also,
yeah, but
I-
they can review it in the early
unironically, I
stages,
imagine it does
jeez.
take a while.
Also,
Yeah,
Jiro's been in the
you
game for
have
so
to keep
long.
adding
This should be
sketches
quick.
and saying, okay, this is fine, this is not fine, change this. I would imagine that takes quite a long
Heck.
time, at least.
I feel like the only thing LifeWonders would be turning away is if they didn't include a reference they wanted to it or something. But in terms of the posing, I'm sure, like, as long as they follow certain guidelines, like keeping the face clear, it should be fine. We have some pretty, like, out there art compositions at this point that I feel like a lot of it is just straight up designed by, you know, the artists themselves, which is expected, right? Anyways, seriously.
I
Actually,
don't think it is, but okay.
Okay, even if we were being
Actually,
generous.
thought Bomb decides posing.
Sorry?
I think Bomb decides posing.
Yeah, I've heard that was the case with
Yeah, I'm
Shenron,
pretty sure.
but it's in that case that's more of a bomb limiting factor than this what's called finish to Jiro. And it's also just like, even if we were being generous and say it took 2 weeks to make, like, come on. he had 2 weeks to make it. So 2 weeks is way too long to make a single illustration. Jesus Christ. Like,
Ara doesn't respect the pain artists go through for commissions.
Yes.
what do you mean? I know.
Ara doesn't understand.
We know people like Judy and all
The
that
pain of
who
missing a
actually
Final Fantasy
does
raid.
commissions, and you know, in order to survive to do it, they need to do multiple commissions at the same time. Like, jeez, I know they want to like aim for perfection and all that, but come on. Anyway, this is getting a bit sidetracked. I'll continue reading. All the pieces of their pork taste great in your mouth, so you already know he's great too. Yeah, I'd like to have a taste of him in my mouth. Oh, you noticed. Okay, so we are done with the final topic of this. That was just a bit under 3 hours. Wow. So yeah, what did you guys feel about this banner overall, and the music, and the new backgrounds, and the theme of it, and you know, thoughts after the end of the anniversary campaign, and anything in general? Open your mind to me.
I'm glad I got Tuaring, and also that he wasn't 5-star, and I'm glad that the 5 stars are nothing special, so that I don't feel anything that I missed. Well, actually, I got Ulan on one of them, but they're whatever. But yeah,
I don't care about this event at all. That said,
I think the event writing is kind of funny so far, from what I read. I don't really like the battle music. I think the melody is kind of low energy for what they build up to. The shop music is pretty good though. I think the theme is really weird. Like
yeah,
mini plushes with Inuyasha time travel to old Japan. So yeah. I do like that they're using ARs as cutscenes again, though, like Jurassic Summer.
Oh, cool! They're doing that. Sweet. Good thing too, because these ARs look so good. Yeah, I'll be looking forward to the event then, just for that, because this has definitely been 10 out of 10 in terms of AR art for me overall. Like, I don't think I can even remember like the last AR banner I cared about strictly for art so much.
Well, be ready to wait for 2 years, maybe 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, maybe.
Because where is Showdown translation? Maybe later.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I already have the Boogeyman Jurong AR, which is already like 2 of my most favorite characters ever. So it's like, will they really release another Boogeyman Jurong AR? I don't think they will. We'll have to see though. But yeah, I think the music overall was actually quite good, and I actually did like the battle music too. It does stand in strong contrast to the rest of this year's music. I mean, FKAI got better, and it's nice they're ending it nice with Christmas as well, but like, holy crap, the first half of there was something else. As for the theming, it is very esoteric. Like, who even knows about the Oedo period, the, ancient Japan, what's called royalty period. It's very fancy to look at, and it makes for great timepiece music, but it's also like, you're pulling for yet another festival skin for Ulaanbaatar, which I've never been a fan of these festival skins, and Ganglie, who's just like wearing this custom yukata Santa outfit, which, like, okay, I guess. So it doesn't do a service to the art, but that's just my opinion as a damn gaijin.
Yeah, I feel like Japanese people would like Japanese stuff. I have a stronger connection to that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, well, what audience was connecting everyone to those stupid camo skins in Snowfish? That's my question. At least there's some like reason for this having some theme that may not appeal to everyone. But yeah. I'm just kind of sad that I can't pull in this banner. I wouldn't have pulled too hard on it, but I do like Horus a good amount, and I actually think this kid is amazing. I think he's the best in banner. But I'll just have to cope and wait and see for Gangstar to reprint and the very last week Because that's totally happening, right? According to Irby. I'm totally not going to strangle him if that doesn't happen.
Wow, how violent.
I've been quite violent lately from being overworked from all this stuff that's like paying pennies at the end. Also, is Irby not even on chat right now? He didn't even reply to that. Anyways, I guess he's down for being choked.
I don't know.
I was muted. Sorry.
I was gonna say he went to go pick up his thing.
I said maybe about that reprint. God, you know it doesn't happen for like 3 years already.
Okay, but no matter what, every year they had a Christmas reprint of some kind, right? From the previous year. Like, that'd be so fucking evil.
That's true.
Like, what the fuck? Where's the gangster reprint? I'm so fucking angry right now, Jesus Christ, you have no idea.
Yeah, but if you look at this year's reprints, we had almost no reprints, if any reprints at all. Most of the banners were just random banners and banners from the rerun event that they were running. There was not a lot of event reprint banners for some reason
like,
this year.
What's it called? Valentine Fantasy and Night Clothes this year?
Those were...
But Night Clothes was a full rerun. And
Everybody's talking about just random
was as well.
Oh,
I'm just talking about banner reprints by themselves.
I guess, but summer reprints have always been weirdly inconsistent.
This year.
Like, sometimes they reprint in fall and other times in spring. And also, it's like Christmas always prints in Christmas. And everyone had their anniversary print, and so Christmas needs to have their Christmas print on Christmas because like,
usually
it's
always get
that's not fair.
Summer banners. We'd also usually get summer banner reprints on the summer events, and I think this year we didn't get it. It was just the Jurassic banner and just the Seaside School 2 banner. We didn't get any other summer reprint at all. I guess they just maybe thought of abolishing reprints altogether for some reason.
Okay, but everyone had an anniversary print. It's different for Christmas, okay? It's not fair. Where's Gangstar? I hate this.
I don't know. It's LifeWonders has some very weird decisions for this year. But okay.
I just wish they just slap in Christmas on anniversary at this point. Like, what's the holdup? Like, you're gonna delay just to reprint on Christmas itself. Like, really? And then you're like not even gonna release it immediately on the time of, so you're keeping it until like 1 week before it ends. I'm gonna cry.
That's a possibility, but it may not happen. So
I'm gonna blame Uri for this. I'm gonna go to his home and destroy his computer, so you'll never see him online again. Okay.
No.
Maybe that's a bit too much. All right, I'm gonna go read out the chat and close the stream. Where do we leave off? Don't watch. Oh, I noticed. Don't watch the Marine banner. Everyone watch the Marine banner if anyone mentions their opening again, or whatever it's called. You'll literally kill yourself. Everyone watch the opening. It's very cool. 3 arrows, yay! Yeah, like the classic stream link. Thanks for the stream, guys. Great stream. Thank you very much. Do my best. And everyone else did their best, of course, too. Tartamo being a bonus unit is your raison d'etre. The story is nice so far. It's funny and rather interesting. Glad to hear it. I'm looking forward to it. If anything, it changed your view on Nobumichi. I mean, there wasn't much of a view to begin with them anyways. I think these are the best set of Christmas outfits we've gotten so far. They're so intricately designed and pretty. I would disagree, but that's just a cultural difference, I'm pretty sure. Nobuni. Also, we got more enemy Horus jokes, please now. Apparently, Ganglie has a dead wife. I mean, he is a general in Jubaji, so I wouldn't be surprised he has some sort of entire life history in his original mythology. But it's okay, we're married now. Sure. How mad would he be if Gangstar didn't run just because Christmas Fushi gets a rate up on New Year's? That's not happening. New Year's generally doesn't have any sort of a banner at all. The only banner they have is the one that you get from the exchangeable resource from the drop quest. They don't actually have transient summons, I'm pretty sure, during New Year's, so that's like, it's just not happening. Have you seen people or camera for paintball? It's basically the same as for Snowfight are. Sure. Wow, totally just sliced the whole theme of it. Porky Pig. No, avoid it. I can only handle so much bullying hearing your stupid voice. Your voice wasn't stupid, it was the execution that was quite botched. Everyone watch the opening Marine stream. Go check it out. I hope to see more of Otter. I'll pass. And bye-bye, guys. Alright, that's it for us. Everyone, let's say your piece. 1, 2, 3. Bye.
Bye.
Milk, you're not joining. Milk, join!
It did say bye. You just didn't hear it.
I didn't. You're so quiet. Okay, bye.